Good afternoon. Come on in. Hi, Saul. Oh, I need to unplug and plug again the monitor, the display, so I can see my power. All right. I think that works now. Hi, Ed. Hi, Saul. Hi, Tess.
Hi there.
Ah, my
Hi,
double
Diana.
glass.
Hi, Tess and Ed.
All right.
Hi.
Hi. All right. Bring everyone in. Okay. All right. All right, so here we go, here we go, here we go. I have, did I tell you guys last week what happened to my computer that I had to put it in the sun for it to work, my laptop? You guys heard that story? Okay, so that was last Thursday. Continuing today, I show up in the morning, 9 a.m., freezing cold, laptop wouldn't work. And meanwhile, please open Bridge and InDesign. I had InDesign open, but I had an open Bridge, so I'm opening that for a second here. And there's no sun to warm it up, right? It's the class starts at 9 a.m. It's before that. So one of the students, the same one, bear in mind, who told me that she has to warm up her iPad on the heater each morning, she had a big thick coat. She lives in Alaska half the year. And so she's like, you know what I do? I warm things up in my coat. And I'm like, yes, but I'm walking around, I'm teaching in person, I can't. And so she said, here, give it to me. So she put my laptop on her back, under her coat, sat on the chair and basically incubated the laptop for about 15 to 20 minutes. When it felt warm to her skin, she brought it out. It's working. It's amazing. So now you know the solution to to eternally, to cold morning old computers. I don't know if this is a thing that would happen to new computers, but it is to old computers. All right, so guys, I have a request. I'm gonna put in a link here in the chat. What this is this session I am being evaluated. And so all of us teachers evaluate each other, and I have a certain portion where the teacher comes into the class and watches me teach, but the other portion is, what do students think of my teaching? So this link lets you access a survey. That is, I'm going to share my screen. When you click on it, you'll go to a screen like this. I'm going to put the link in there again so Dot can see it. The request is that even if you are in others of my classes, like you've already filled it because you attended some other class of mine that I taught this session, this is individual, it's per class. So if this is your, and I'm putting it 3 times because when Dot arrived, I put it in the chat, and then Jenny, right? Because when you guys show up to class, the chat appears empty. You don't see what went ahead. So now Dot and Jenny can see the link. If you click on this link, you'll get to this page. And it's a request for, what do you think of my teaching? Now, there's a video here that you can watch or not watch, but since I am here, I can tell you about it. The thing is that this survey goes to all classes, and everyone sees me with a little video telling them what to do. But you have me in real life, so I'm going to tell you what to do. Go scroll down. When you first show up to it, you have to scroll down and then hit the start. I won't tell you what to write, but I'll show you what to do. And then the first thing is, what class are you taking? So say that you are taking digital design techniques, but you took Photoshop. Well, then you already wrote the one in Photoshop. Now this is the same questions, but about this class, right? So then you enter whatever class you're taking. And then when you say next, this is the part that gets confusing for people. So let me explain. there's a question, and this one, it says, your instructor clearly explains material and gives good examples. Whoops. If you agree with that, then it's all the way to the right. It's 5 stars. If you disagree, it's 1 star. So 1 star means, not too sure. 5 stars means you're good, and somewhere in between, right? That I do or not do that. So once you click on it, it goes away. And if you change your mind, you can go back to the bottom right and go up, and this time give me more or less stars, like it works, but then it disappears again, right? So just so you know, this down to the bottom right allows you to go back to your question. And then once you finish and answer all your questions, I'm going to jump through these. There's 5 of these little star questions. Then you get to this one. Woof. Okay, there's 7 star questions. All right, there's 9 star questions. When you get to question 10, when you want to answer something like, this is how she does. If you hit the return and you were just trying to say another sentence, it'll move to question 11. So go back, and then you can either click period and keep writing, or hit shift return, and then it'll stay in there to write some more if you really want to write something. Because when you hit return, it goes away. So this is question 10. So use these arrows to go back if you wanted to complete or change something, okay? When you're done, which I believe it's 13 questions total, the last one, it just self-submits, or if not, you will see a submit window, the choice there, okay? And, oh, I'm gonna have to put the link again because Gustavo just joined. So I'm gonna back all the way to the beginning. And I know, Gustavo, you probably filled this one out for Photoshop, but I'm putting the, copying this link. Can everyone please do this now before we start? All the other classes have done it by now. I think my Illustrator class still has to do it. And then after that, when they accumulate the surveys from all my students, then I have my final meeting, and they want to try and do it right after Thanksgiving. So I said, wait, I'll give the rest of my classes the survey today. So Gustavo, I put a link in the chat, which since you just joined, I'm not sure if you're seeing it. Let me put it in there again for the survey of how do you think I am doing as a teacher. I'm going to send it by email as well so that people who are not here today can respond. But most of you guys who have been showing up all the time are here. So please fill that out. And when you're done, give me a yes so that we can continue with the class. And if you have any questions, let me know. Meanwhile, I will open up our Padlet. Okay. Oh, I just had I was just working on internet accounts for everyone and I lost. Oh, really? I lost my notes.
Diana?
Yeah.
Oops. Can we fill this out after class as well?
You can.
Okay.
What happens is that when I just remind people and I send an email for people to do it later, most people don't.
Ah,
So
okay. I see.
But if you're going to do it, please definitely fill it out later. Just do your best to remember to fill it out. But other than that, of course. So I lost my link to Padlet because I was teaching the math class and I lost the I'm gonna have to sign in Padlet on my own. So give me a second here. Actually, I probably have it on Firefox memorized. I think I do. There it is, Padlet. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen for Padlet, and I know it's showing Illustrator, but I'll switch over to the digital design techniques one. Go to home. And here we go. All right. So here's the work that we did last week. Most of you have stayed within last week's work. No one posted anything they're up to. Just out of curiosity, is there some project, anything that you guys are working on that you did do something on your own? Even if you don't want to share it, like, did you all try to create some product that involves desktop layout that you might have used InDesign for? Nope. No, looks like nothing. All right. Just because it's nice to see stuff that people are working on, but other than that, that's okay. We've gotten to the place where we've created our front, which is something like that. And then there's a couple of questions here that I got yesterday that were good that I said I'd answer. So let me look at that for a second. But I just want to say we created our front where we just brought in photos. We modified those photos in Photoshop. We laid them out in a way that fit us. And then in the back, we learned a bit more about text. In fact, Monica here actually did a sample where she brought in the text from Word and she dropped it in there, and that looks looks really good as a marketing piece, right? She talks about coffee. Here she'll put the address, and we also worked on creating our little logos. And in this case, her logo was originally something that she got off the internet, but then y'all created the logos. Oh, that's a reminder to tell you. Yes, I'll tell you in a minute. So this is now the logo she created, which I think is even cuter because she put these little cute dots in there. Anyway, so this is the logo that you guys created at the end of last class. We brought that in there. So now we have something we've created in Illustrator, something that we found first. We created the text in Photoshop, brought all the font, all that information into InDesign through the libraries, turn it into a written logo, brought in text from Word, created the layout in the background. So now we have a piece at this point that is basically complete for print. And now we have to say, okay, so how do we get this from where we are into a final piece? So, and then, so we're gonna figure out what if we want to do this as a print. What kind of file do we need to create? What things do I need to check to make the files correct? We're also going to go ahead and figure out what if I wanted to use that same material and create something for the web, or send it out in a different format for a different need for a blog, that kind of thing. So where do we go from here? And then I also want to work a little bit deeper with threaded text. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing today. That said, what that last alarm was all about was to remind you, I made a mistake last week. I believe someone asked me if this last class was the last class. And I said, no, we have 2 more. Well, no, I was wrong. This is our last class. Today is our last class. Normally classes go from Monday through, like, this is a Tuesday, Thursday class, and normally these classes go once a week. But this one was a Tuesday, Thursday, and it finishes on Tuesday. And I was unaware of that. Not that I was unaware. In my brain, it was supposed to finish on Thursday, but when I went to the calendar and to the schedule, it finishes today, which is, so it works fine because we're completing this piece. I was going to do extra stuff next week, so sorry about that. But I'm glad you're here to see that. So now there's, if you have any questions about that, let me know. But a couple of people had put some questions that I said, ask me next week. So here's one that says, ask me next week in class. So I think it's Monica. I was thinking about adding a very faint image of the owner in the background. And I thought, and some other people asked me here, I was bothered by the change. So I know it's actually also Monica. It's the same question, so I'll answer that question. And then linking Nitro and Coffee House, so I can move and alter them as one. And then is there a way to change the off-white background? So all of this is Tess's question and the rest of Monica's question. Is there someone else who asked something? this dot was from before, but we answered it. Okay, so some of these questions might have been answered by last week's class because it had to do with color and we did a lot of color work. But I didn't talk about this one that Monica was saying. So the whole question is, I wanted to put a faint image of the owner in the background, right? So remember in the front we had it and then it's back here. She wants to put it. But since it's a linked file, would that also change the image on the front, right? It's a great question. Would I have to work with a copy of the image? So really good question. And the answer is no. I'll show you now what and why. So we're going to do that. And then Tess wanted to know about changing the off-white, the background color. Right now it's pretty much white. So yeah, we'll work on that. And then Monica mentioned that instead of having her black and white image bugged her to have black and white in the midst of these. And so she changed it, right? As you can see, it's not black and white like the default was. So she added a sepia adjustment layer and hue to move it to an orange tone. So you did it with the hue, or how else did you change it to sepia? Otherwise, I can show you a different way to change it to sepia. Did you do it by making orangey stuff or?
No, I went into Photoshop and I found the sepia. So I did sepia and then I also changed, I think, the saturation or something.
Okay.
Anyway,
So,
it got more vibrant. So.
Yeah, so going to sepia, that's the right way. So I might demo some of that. That wasn't in the forefront of what I was going to do today, but I'm happy to show how to now keep what is in the forefront is to, once it's all designed, how to keep adapting stuff, right? So I just want to show you that again.
Right.
So I could go ahead and show the sepia. Okay, so background color, background image, that's already there. Any other big questions that you guys have that I might have skipped? I always try to answer the questions, but I noticed I had skipped those. Do you all know if you asked me something I didn't answer? I'm going to leave it there. You guys check and see if you have any questions that I didn't answer. I think I've answered them all, but in case I didn't, let me know. All right, so let's head over back to our InDesign, to our file. Let me change my share. Here we go. Now I only have InDesign and Bridge open. I haven't yet opened. Oh, that's not what I wanted to share. I'm sharing my Padlet when I want to share instead my InDesign. How about that? There's InDesign and here's my Bridge. Okay. So here we go. So hopefully everyone has their design done. If not, I did update the handouts with the latest version. If anyone needs the latest version and they don't have it, please go to the handouts because I put in all of the files, which by now are quite a few, right? We have a logo. We have, let me go to page 1. So I like to have this page thing open. We have, in my case, I have 4 photos. We have, it's not linked to this, but we have a logo that not a logo, that we could now bring in the logo with the 2 beans or 3 beans or whatever we made up front if we wanted to. But right now we have it only in the back page. So all those files are obvious and we see them here in the links, right? It's the 4 photos and the links. But there's something else that's important to this document that isn't here. Can you guys tell me what it might be? Like if I tried to send this file, let me explain my request. And if you know the answer because you've taken the class before, let the people who haven't taken the class find out, see if they can think it through for a little bit, because I haven't explicitly said this yet. So if I send this file to, you know, XX, I send an InDesign file to XX printer. They're going to need my InDesign file and they're going to need these 5. That's one way to do it. There's another way. I'm going to teach you 2 different ways to do it. But at this point, if I send them the working InDesign file, then I also need to send all the links, remember, because these are embedded, not embedded, they're linked. So that means I need to send them 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the InDesign file. That's 5 files. What is missing here that is necessary still to send? What else? So let's go over here and explore basically this page or this page. What else did we have to get specifically to make this design work that wasn't here at the beginning?
The specs, oops.
The specs, that will come in a way, that'll come attached when we send the file. Those photos, all that stuff, the specs come within it. So I understand though that if you send it to someone, they'll say, well, what is this file? What are you going to print it? You'll have to tell them, oh, I want it as a 4x6 postcard or whatever. So yeah, you need to write to them what the specs of what you want. Or when you upload it, let them know which is the one that you're doing. So that's partially okay, but it's not what I'm looking for. So keep thinking.
Maybe the bleed on the, well, it looks like you have bleeds already there.
All right, so
One
in this
page.
case, I'm showing it to you in the presentation mode. If I hit W, the bleeds are part of the file, so I don't need to specify because they can see that there's an 1/8 of an inch bleed. So again, yes, the file should have bleeds, but I don't need to say anything about it because it's going with the file. So good try again, but there's something else here. So what do you see in this front? Describe everything you're seeing in the front. I'll help
I
you.
believe looks like the left upper is white. You need to stretch the image a little bigger to cover it.
Okay, that's an interesting point. This photo is centered in such a way that in my bleed, that's a good point. In my bleed, when I do this, it looks good. But right after my bleed, this wasn't what I was looking for, but it's a great observation. This part of my bleed, the photo happens to have a window or something white behind it. I don't know. So imagine if the document does need the bleed and it goes there, it's going to leave a white line there, a thin white line. That's going to look as if there's no photo, right? So that's a really good observation. This definitely isn't working. So if I have space, I can move it a bit to the left still. And I still have photo here, so that works. If not, I would have had to increase its space a little bit. Let me see if that's too much hand. No, that's still fine. You can still see she's there. So that works. But did you see what the point he made? That is a really bad piece of photo to have in your bleed. So I moved it over until that. Now, plan B, if I say, no, I really do want to see that hand, too much of it is hiding, what would have been another option? I'm going to undo what I did. What other solution could I have had to this that's very well pointed out that is a really bad bleed?
Yeah, I think, well, that's another, I can see a few things here on the car.
Wait, hold on. Before you point some other stuff, how would I fix this other than what I just did? Because what if I did want to see more of her arm? What I just did cut off her arm a lot. What if I did want to see her arm? Can you think of any way, you guys, that I could have fixed this?
Well, you could go into Photoshop and fix that area, make
Yeah.
it the gray color of the background.
I could just go into the edit, go into the link of the cafe owner, edit link. Okay, I'm going to do that because I think that's a good idea. And just darken this area, just extend, fill in with some of this gray, just cover that. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes.
That way I don't have to worry. Now I'm going to actually show you, I'm going to do that so that the file does open up. Oh, I need to right click and tell it to edit with Photoshop. Okay, so everyone, let's give it a try with one of your photos to do that. Just, you know, again, for the practice. In my case, use what Saul said that showed me this problem and see if there's anything else on any of yours that you might want to handle. Now over here, I played around with this one so much that I have a little bit of extra space. So look at the details like that, like he just explored that one. Make sure that all your bleeds are filled. And so here, this is in photo. Oh, I need to reshare now my Photoshop as well. Here we go. So here's my Photoshop that opened up. And this little bit of this window right there is what's being used as a bleed. Now, I could have made it smaller, bigger. I could have done so many other things, but if really the photo that I want is that, then I can go over here and edit it. So I want to show you guys how to do this in a non-destructive way. So everyone open your photo of this woman, and I'm going to show you how to do it in a non-destructive way, so that then you can choose whether you want the edited version or not, because maybe you don't even see this part in your window, but in your design. But go ahead and do that. So go to InDesign, go to the page, go to the links, and then choose the cafe owner. Right click, edit original. Might open it up in like preview as it did for me because it's a JPEG. If it's a PSD, it would have opened in Photoshop, but since it's a JPEG, go to edit with and choose what to open it with. And in this case, open in Adobe Photoshop. And then let's pull up Photoshop and I'll help. So while that's happening, while you guys are opening up Photoshop, let me listen to Saul had some more feedback. So yes, Saul, what other feedback do you have?
Yeah, the other,
Here
yeah,
you
the
go.
other feedback that I have, I think, on the mag, where the mag is, the center one, what is behind those 4 images? It's just an empty square. Maybe you can write it down, like all the way on the back.
So
If it's empty,
behind these 4 images, what's behind
yes,
it?
yes.
Nothing.
Oh,
There's no
there's nothing?
space, so it doesn't matter. If I had space, and it kind of segues with Tessa's question of how do you make this background be a different color? Because in the second page, we have nothing. So what nothing means is that if I print this on white paper, this will be white. If I print it on red paper, this will be red, because it's literally nothing. Okay. So
Okay.
that's why the only thing that has some color is this band. Some of you guys made one, some of you guys didn't, but if you did make one, it has to go to the bleed. So this document really has only this logo up there, this line, this box, and that thing there, right?
Yes.
So that's all there is. So in answer to Tessa's question, and maybe slightly answering yours, if I want this background to be a different color, I literally should make a box. Because I want it to be a color, it will have to be full bleed. Make a box that is
Right.
full bleed, or
Okay.
at least until there. In this case, at least until there, but just in case I can go full bleed. And then fill it with a color that's maybe off-white, right? So maybe that, which was the logo color, and here's the good news. This was my logo color in front, right? So maybe I want just a version of this. I can go to tint, which is kind of like opacity, and say, this is the color I want, but I want a light version of it. Maybe you want like 50% version of that tint or something like that, right? So that's just an example. It could have been any color, or you can invent your own color like we did last week, but I find that keeping within the same set of colors works. Now, I just made it. When you just make something, let's look at the layers. This rectangle is at the very top, hiding everything else, right? So I need to bring it down. So it goes to the bottom, and there you go. That's how I made my non-white background. Now it mattered for the back, right? Because there was white, but for the front, I didn't leave any space of background. So it doesn't matter at all. Does that make sense? Now,
Yes.
had you left space between 2 of the images, which you could have, then you would have to fill it. Over here, I had space, right? Sorry, no, the black, not the, here I had some space. And since I didn't want that space, I put black behind it, right?
Okay.
I believe Monica put some like deep blue, teal or something like that. So you fill it up. Did that answer that question?
Yes, you did. And I think the other one was like in between text in the corner bottom left.
Yeah, I had a white
What's the
line there.
space right there? That was it.
Yeah, so over here, this is
Mhm.
hard to see when you've got all the things. So go to this view mode, disconnect, because if you have something selected, it's hard to see. Click away in the neutral area so nothing's there, and then explore every corner. Now, this was very obvious to see because it was, you know, pretty big, but sometimes you can't tell. So you have to zoom in quite a few times, right? Command plus, like quite a few times, and then hold down spacebar and then just inspect everything. Because then it's like, oh yeah, that's very obvious when it might have not been so obvious before. You might miss on something that's important, okay? So then you go over here and you go, oh, that link doesn't connect so well, or right? So it's a good idea to check all your borders, all your edges. You might have a little edge that's a bit more on one than another. I'm going to go back to Command 0. This one is big enough that even at this distance, you could see it. So I moved it to the right, but if I move it willy-nilly to the right, and it looks good there right now, right? So maybe I'll say there. I like it perfect because that handle is working into that corner. There we go. What am I not doing by doing that? What am I messing up? Probably. Did I mess up anything?
Your bleed.
Yeah, I can't tell until I show the bleed, and then I go, oof, did I leave any image in the bleed? Let me see. And I have to go up, zoom and see, and I go, it looks like it's okay in the bleed, but then when I approach, I go, oh, I'm a little bit short of the bleed. See that? And I couldn't have said. So now I either move it back to fill that bleed, or I have two options. I either move it back, meaning that can't touch the corner, or I make it all a little bit bigger so it touches the corner. As long as I'm still within the 250 to 300 PPI, I can do that. Or worst case scenario, if I don't have, it's already a 250 PPI, I can't make it any bigger. Like with the top one, I go into Photoshop and I add a teensy little bit to the file. Does that make sense? All three of those options are solutions. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that my easiest solution to me is to make it a tad bigger. So I'm going to hold into my shift, and so it stays proportional, and just make it that tiny little bit bigger. That doesn't really change much because it was so tiny. Leaves that handle in the corner. Everything is good. I've covered my bleed. I'm happy. That solves that, right? And I could have done that to this one too. I could have just made it a bit bigger, but I wanted to show you how to do this in a way that's proportional. But that, by the way, thank you for those comments, Saul. And that still doesn't answer what's the final set of files that's missing here, right? But if no
It's
one
not
has,
compressing now, Diana, compressing the files to be able to print it.
Mhm.
or no?
Not yet. That's not yet what I need to do. So
Okay.
we'll talk about that. So now people who have taken the class before, maybe you can answer. Do you remember? Have you figured it out yet? What's missing? If I were to send this file to my printer right now, other than these 5 files plus the InDesign, what else needs to go?
You
All
link the
right.
font too?
Yeah.
What's that? Tess?
Link the font?
Yes, thank you. I was about to say it and you just brought it out.
Sorry.
Perfect. I just managed to
Bravo,
somehow
Tessa.
will it out. Willed it out of your brains. Well done. Your fonts. Your fonts. Remember that when this whole thing started, Photoshop, we didn't have this font. We had to go and download whatever font. You all chose a font, but we all chose fonts that we had to go that first day into Photoshop, into the Adobe Fonts library, activate that font, download it into our computers, right? Now, because we chose an Adobe font, if we sent these files as is to a printer that also has an Adobe font subscription, when the font comes in, the computer is going to say, should I download this font? And they'll probably go, yes, and it'll download. But what if I used a font from another font library, not an Adobe font, that they don't have access to, right? So plan B is we send them the font file too. And just in case their font that they have is a bit different than mine, we still send the font. So the font has to go with the files. So it's all of these things plus the font. Now, well done. Great thinking.
Diana,
Yes.
I'm gonna go off base here for a second.
But
Could
let me stop you
could-
for 1 second, Ed. Let me stop you for 1 second. Hold on, because maybe it's what you're gonna say or maybe not, but I want to clarify that I am showing you steps in the process. One of the options is to send all these files. There's another option, which is you don't send any of these files, and we're gonna create a file for that, okay? But there's 2 ways to send files, and for many things nowadays, you can send just 1 file and that's it, without fonts and with anything. I'll teach you that second. But when you're doing something professional with a professional printer, that who needs, like, for example, I'm doing a 10,000 coffee table books and I'm printing them in China. If you send the file that's just 1 file and there's any problems, they can't do anything about it. So what they want is all of the files too, so that they can manipulate things if they need to fix something. So you need to know how to do both, okay? Anyway, I just wanted to stop because I don't want to go too far into this conversation without making you know that there are options, simpler and more complicated. We're doing the more complicated one first. Sorry about that. So yes, Ed?
So believe it or not, my wife has a business and she has a business partner and they were making a banner. And they didn't ask me. They used built-in resources from one of these online things, and the eventual finished product was a PDF,
Mm,
which surprised the hell out of me. This was the company that makes all of the business cards. I can't think of their name, but that's
Vista Print or one of those, yeah.
it was Vistaprint, and they used their template. And I have no idea if it's in bleed lines, and I have nothing to do with it. I wash my hands of it, but it was really shocked that it was a PDF that they finished up with.
Yeah, well, don't be so shocked because after I teach you this way, plan B is make a PDF. So
Oh,
yes,
okay. All
that's-
right.
That's how it goes, and that's the whole point. So you're exactly on the ball with that because you send all the link files, all the fonts, all the page specs, which is what I'm teaching you now. If you're going, as I said, to a professional printer, people who you're paying thousands of dollars, are making a big print, they have these web presses, any problem they have to, the moment they press go, 2,000 copies have already gone out. It's a ton of money. They want to be able to fix any issue. They see a bleed that's wrong, they can fix that. They need the working files, which is what we're working on. If instead you go to one of the, they're printing a banner, it's 1 banner, it's a low cost job. I mean, I'm talking low cost for us, we might think it's a lot to pay $100, but we're talking, nothing for a company. We're doing business cards, we're doing a 1 flyer, who cares? They don't want to fix, they won't fix anything. You send them a PDF, they can't touch it, they can't fix it. If you have a problem, sorry, lady, you gave me the wrong thing, you got to print it again, pay another $100. You know what I mean? So if you send a PDF, that's immutable, untouchable. And for many of these small job prints that we do now for my husband's business, we're doing, flyers, business cards, and some signposts. We're just sending PDFs to the printer, and that's just fine. Does that make sense? Now, you also send the PDF to these big companies where you send all the loose files. Lately, depending on their machines, some printers need the whole file, some printers can handle it with a PDF. It's just that the newer stuff, the new people who have updated all of their printing machines can use the PDFs, but people who have had printing machines that work fine for 20 years and still work just fine, and these things are, take up, warehouse sized machines who print out, have you ever seen photos of the newspapers and stuff like that? These are humongous machines. They don't change them just because. So they might still need the other files. So you need to talk, basically the answer is talk to your printer, or if they have a web page, read their instructions. And if you read Vistaprint's web page, you go to the banners, it shows you exactly what the specs are, what the bleed is. Or if, like you said, you can go into Vistaprint and just say, design it on their website, which is like what your wife seems to have done. So it says upload picture here, you upload your picture, put title here, you put title, print. They've handled expanding it to to the size of the bleed and all of that. Okay, so when you get the banner, there it is, it's done, it's a PDF. That's all they need. So it all depends on where you're printing, who you're printing with. You need to communicate. What file do you need? What font do you need? What format do you need? So yeah, the other day I was printing some special like little square 2x2 cards for a client. And I had used that company before. And I checked because yes, 1/8 of an inch is typical for bleed, but some companies want different. So I went online and the answer wasn't there. So I got on the chat and I said, what's your bleed? They said 1/8, thank you. And I just like verified, right? That's all I did. And it came out well. So you need to always check with your printer. All right. So here's the deal. The fonts are missing. First of all, do you have any idea how to get fonts out of your computer to send them to someone? Would you know? Yeah, most people don't. In fact, I don't know how to do it on a Windows machine. And in this case, that I downloaded a font from Adobe, I don't even know. It's activated from Adobe, so I'm not even sure if the font has downloaded into my computer. I'm not sure. I should find out. In the past, if it's not the Adobe fonts, you have to download the font onto your computer, install it, and use it. But with Adobe, it might even stay online. I don't know about that. So how do I send these files with the fonts to my printer? I wouldn't even know where to get them from. Plus, I don't know if you've been following through, but in Bridge and my Bridge, since I can't save to the same place, I have some of my files in this folder. I have some of my files in my, I've been in my Google Drive folder. I have some of my downloads, like when I downloaded the original logo, it was my downloads folder. So at this point, and by the way, I purposely did this for this class. I know enough to do this that when I am creating a project, I make a point of putting all my files in the same folder. Just so you know, when I do a save as, I already know I'm going to want these together. So I do put them in the same folder. But for the most part, I've been telling you, save wherever you normally save your files. What does that mean? That probably your files are mixed up with your other class files, right? They're not particularly separated. If so, then they're all in Bridge under alphabetical order, right? So you have one up there, maybe one down there, maybe one down there, right? So it's not like you have a dedicated space for them. At least maybe they're in the same font, but the folder, but the fonts aren't all here. So first of all, let's go fix this little bit. And again, even if in yours you don't have to fix it, I'll show you how to do it in a non-destructive manner. So by now everyone should have their Photoshop already opened with this file opened up. So we're gonna do first the fix. So let's head over here to the background. Some of you guys already know how to fix things. The one thing you might not know is how to do it non-destructively. Now, this is something that I could easily, so don't do this. Don't do what I'm about to do right now. I'm just showing you. What we need to do here is, we need to, it's this beginning part there that's white. It's not the other side of the window, right? It's this beginning part. So I could just grab one of these retouching tools, for example. Sorry, that's not the retouching tool. What's version of Photoshop I'm in graphics and web, so it's not showing my retouching tools here. Interesting. Why would graphics and web not show me my retouching tools? How interesting. You know how they show you different tools, but they really don't have the retouching tools here. You would think that you never need to retouch a photo. So anyway, let's head down here and switch to photography. So down here, I mean up here to the workspaces, and click on the workspaces and switch to photography workspace. And then here on the left side, you'll see like a Band-Aid looking kind of tool, another Band-Aid looking kind of tool, a little like patch kind of tool. These are all different retouching tools. I'm going to just really quickly grab one and show you, and I don't want you to do this yourselves, but see if I do something like this. See how it's beginning to like give me more gray in here. This is not what I'm going to recommend, but see, it's giving me a little bit more gray. That's probably enough. right? And I'm gonna save this file. Don't do this, okay? And I'm just doing a very, very bad job of it because I'm just trying to kind of be quick about this. I'm just putting a little bit of this in there and let's see, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna go into InDesign, and if this was to happen, see how it gave me a bit more. It didn't do enough, but that's what it would happen. It just updated automatically. Now, it could be that sometimes you have to update it yourself. All right, so that's one option. That said, I have just ruined this photo because I did it in a destructive way. And the only reason it's not destructive because the file is still open and I have a history and I can undo what I just did. But if I had closed this file now, all that would be gone and I would have like basically messed up this window and there's no way to fix it. So it was a bad fix anyway, but on top of that, it was a destructive fix. So I just went to history and undid it. Now I will teach you how to do it and we will do it correctly, how to do it the right way. So let's go ahead and head over to the background and create a empty layer. So down here at the bottom, when you have all these little icons at the bottom of layers, click on the plus sign and create a new layer. And if you don't see it or can't find it or something's happening, that's not good, let me know, raise your hand. Other than that, once you have a new layer, we're actually, there's like, I can think of right now, 4 different ways to fix this. Or more, I can't even. But the one I'd like to use most is the patch, but the patch is not non-destructive. And I'm trying to avoid right now telling you you could just duplicate this layer and use the patch. But instead, what I'm gonna have
I'm
us
having a
do-
problem.
Yeah,
I'm not finding my background layer. I mean, I had it and then I don't see it
Okay.
now.
that's fine. So it could be that it's so tiny that it's way down there, you know, like way at the bottom. So go in here and double click on your libraries to make it smaller and then layers might pop up. Did that work? So if you have like a huge library, just double click on the word libraries and then layers should pop up. But maybe you just haven't changed to photography. And if none of that helps, then I'll ask you to share your screen.
When I tried to,
Are you in Photoshop to start with?
I'm in Photoshop
Okay.
and I changed, but now it says essentials. And when I changed to essentials,
I don't know.
um,
Essentials, I said, go to photography.
yeah, but when I changed to photography, but
Then just in case, go and reset photography because you might have like photography messed up from some other class, other place. Reset photography. And then here,
it might be better if I did a screen share.
okay, so I'm going to stop my share. Go ahead.
I changed it to photography, but then it's not showing.
Okay, so what you have here is the problem I say about having 2 different programs that look similar. What you're seeing on the right side is your Illustrator or your InDesign, and your Photoshop is on the inside. You're seeing 2 programs here, okay? So that thing, if you
Oh, that's
see,
it.
there you go. And so now go to your workspace, which is that box there. Yeah, yeah, click on it. Yeah, on click on right there on workspaces. You might have Zoom in the way, but if not, that's
Yeah, I
exactly.
got to have Zoom in the way here.
Okay. And now go, I said, reset photography. Go up again to where you just were, but say reset photography. Yeah, bit 1 under, 2
Oh,
under,
reset photography. Okay.
under. Yeah, there we go. And so your libraries are down there. But see how it's exactly the same color as the program that's underneath. Go ahead and click on the program that's underneath. No, don't move this one. Don't move this one. Just click. Yeah. Click there. Good. And now make this one smaller. Don't move it. Stop. Don't move it. I really base. No. Pull it up. Pull it up again. Move your mouse to the corner of it and make it a bit smaller. Don't move it, but make it to the left a bit smaller. And don't, not down, just up as it was, just thinner. Yeah, keep going up to the top because you want it to be tall, but just skinnier. There we go. and move it to the same size as the other program so that you don't have those overlapping problems. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Now do the same with the bottom one. Go to the bottom one, which is bridge. Click on that one and now grab that corner and move it in. So it's the same size, move it until you see the other two. Okay, there you go. Good. Now go to Photoshop again, which you moved instead of resizing. Yeah, move it out again because see how you don't see your tools on the left side? So go to the top and move it like you've been, no, don't make it bigger, move it, which is what I say never to do, but yeah, bring all those in the way. Yeah, see your tools on the left, perfect. And now go to the right side of this and make it smaller. So yeah, you'll have to move it, make it quite a bit smaller first, and then now move it more so that you can, no, move it even more. So then you can go back to seeing your tools. Yeah, now go and, perfect. Now go to the top and move it back to see your tools on the left side. Yeah, and then there you go. And if you need to move it a little bit skinnier so that your zoom is on the right side and then that's skinny. But now that's it. Now you always know, you'll always know what program you're in. I don't know if this one's a bit bigger than the others at this point or if it's at the same, grab the edge of it. But does that make sense, Dorothy?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
No, you're welcome. All right, and there's your layers. Okay, so now go down to the bottom and give that little plus sign. And there you go. So now that's where we're at. Okay, perfect. Stop your share. Let me go back to my share. Photoshop, InDesign, and Adobe. There we go. So now I've got my my 3 applications in a row as well. So when I flip from InDesign or Bridge or Photoshop, see how they're all occupying the same space and I don't have to be hiding things to see all my tools. Otherwise it gets really confusing. All right. So now I'm in Photoshop. I made you guys make a new layer. And again, as I said, there's like tons of ways to do this. But right now, let me go back for a second to InDesign and see how much space we need to fix. We need this whole beginning of that black line and her elbow. Okay, so like past her elbow, the tip of her elbow is still in the bleed. So past her elbow for me, like another inch and going up. Now you guys, the position of yours might be completely different. So it might matter not, but let's make as if we need to basically fix so that we don't see that white kind of, the guideline. So there's her elbow, but past her elbow. So basically I need to hide all of the white that's in here. Does that make sense? All of that for it to work for me, for my design. Half of that is for, you know, for the photo, the other half for the bleed. Again, so remember how I told you about Illustrator InDesign, how to pull out rulers. How did I do that? I went to the ruler with my move tool, clicked in the middle of the ruler, dragged out and dragged a little ruler, a guide out. And this guide is going to help me know where or how much to fix. So you can have that, or you can just remember that's good enough. Probably that's all that's a little tip that I could see. You can do that or not. If you want to get rid of it, you grab it and you put it back in the ruler, or you select it like this, you grab it and then you hit your delete key or backspace key. Either way, that handles the ruler. I'm accustomed to throwing them back. In the past, you couldn't delete them. So I just kind of throw them back into the ruler always, like you take it out of a drawer and put it away again. That's what I'm accustomed to doing, but you can also hit delete. All right, so in this top layer, one option would be to use this clone tool right here. These two are content aware. For better or for worse, the content aware tools, what they do is they give you something that merges with the new color. So anything I use the content aware tools here, from here to put in here, we'll try to lighten it so that it merges into the light tone. And my goal is to get rid of the light tone. So of the 3 retouching tools, the second retouching tool that I have, the clone tool, will be better because it's not content aware. I keep thinking that I should be using the patch right now to make it better. But anyway, I'm going to go to the content aware clone stamp tool. Sorry, non-content aware clone stamp tool. And so when I'm gonna go over here, and what's most important at the very top, look at all these things, and the very top says current layer. Current layer means I would have to work in the current layer down there, but then that would be destructive. And since I'm using the layer 1, I have to click on current layer and say current and below. If I have more than one, I might need to say all layers. Right now, current and below is good enough. So the new stuff that I create will appear in this layer, leaving that one intact. So this is the non-destructive way. Okay, non-destructive retouching. Is that what I'm teaching you? And I wish I could teach you how to type. There we go, non-destructive. All right, so now this tool, again, if you've taken my Photoshop classes, you might have used it before or not, but here, me moving this around shows up about like this little round circle. Your circle might be much bigger, much smaller. You can make it bigger or smaller by going to the brackets, the letters, the brackets in the keyboard. So go to your keyboard and look at the keyboard, and you find the letter P. To the right of the letter P, you have your brackets, and the left one makes it smaller, the right one makes it bigger, and tap, 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 tap. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy some of this dark stuff and put it in here. And it's just gonna be a little light. It doesn't, you're not gonna be able to tell it's a window anymore. So it doesn't matter if it's perfect, it just needs to go in there. So I'm gonna make it as small as this guy. I don't want to make it bigger and include that line. Why? Because I don't want to have this line repeated twice. Okay. I don't, here's what that would look like. If I have this line repeated twice, then I would have another line there, and it's kind of weird, right? So what you need to do is have your mouse be small enough to be about the size of this little line without touching the two sides. This is not, as I said, the best way to retouch this. Probably, I'm going to show you later a better way. But put this tool in there. When you see that it's the right size. Sorry, I already did in all these options and stamp. Okay, put your mouse in here. And now hold down the Alt or Option key. And you see how my mouse suddenly looks like a little marksman, how do you call it? Target. That happens every time I hold on to the moment I let go of the Alt or Option key, it stops. So you have to hold on to the Alt Option key, keep it held down, and then go and sample that little spot. How? By giving one single quick click on your mouse. Tick. I did a simple one single click on my mouse. When I'm done doing that, I let go of my Alt or Option key. And now I'm carrying a little dark spot. I'm just hovering. I'm not doing anything. I'm just showing you that I have a little sample of that color. Okay, it's kind of there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this parallel. I'm going to make sure I have this sample right here. I'm going to put it right. So I was showing this moving all over. So I'm going to sample again to make sure that I move to the right. And I'm going to move a little bit to the right over here, right? And I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to start painting up and down so that I'm creating a new line. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to zoom in and show this to you much bigger. You can see better what I'm doing. Okay, so here's my sample. And remember, I made my sample not touch this line or that line. So I made my mouse so that it's in this size. Then I hold down my Alt or Option key and do a single click. Click. There we go. I had to move up again. Okay, so that's what I did. I took a little sample right there. Click. Now, when I move this out in this exact same spot and click where I see the line, I can start dragging up and down, and I'm painting with that same color. See that little plus, that little white plus sign? That's telling you where it's painting from. So watch. If I move it out here, it starts painting white. See how I'm painting white now? And you can't tell because the white, that plus sign is where it used to be white. So I need to keep it on the gray. To keep that on the gray so that I keep painting. And it's gonna give me just a little bit white. So I'm widening my windowsill, so to say. Does that make sense? Widening my windowsill.
Deanna,
Now-
I'm getting a message that says, could not use clone stamp because a layer has not been defined.
Okay, let me head up here. 1 second. Because I'm not doing a very good job of this. That's because you don't have this layer selected. And or the alt or option, you haven't clicked yet. So because of what you read to me, it's more the click mixing. Make sure you, A, everyone that you have selected the new layer, and B, go over here and hold down when you see the alter option clicked. Oh, did you do current and below? I know that you were, this is probably what's happening to you current layer. Go down to current and below.
Yeah,
Now, I'm gonna undo all my. I'm gonna go all the way here so I can start all over again. Now, when you put your mouse on what you want to copy, hold down your Alt and Option key and now do a single click. That's what it says that's what their message says, that it hasn't been defined yet, what you need to copy. Now, one thing that's happening too is that even though I have a very soft hardness, so it should be blending, it's a tiny brush, right? So even though it's a very, very soft brush, oh, we did this in the Photoshop class, not so much with you guys. So it's a pretty tight little shape. And so it's not being that helpful, so to say, in what it's giving me. It's a pretty sharpish brush. So I'm just going up and down this edge, trying to make it wider. Okay. But I can only make it as wide as that little bit of gray that I had. I don't have much more to go by because I only had that little tiny ledge there to go by. So I'm just making it a tad bigger to start with, right? And when I have that tad bigger, I can go and make it even bigger. So I've reached the end of what I can do with this one. I normally wouldn't be doing it in 2 sections. This is I'm trying to show it to you bigger. And I'm going to go up here, make it a little bigger up there, and more. Just keep going. And notice that here I'm repeating that little line. So I'm clicking and I keep going and going. And I'm creating this weird little line there. That's okay for now. I'll keep going and going. So I'm just covering that white. You see my guide? It's telling me that I still need to go all the way there. So I'm going to keep clicking and widening it. Once I have enough wideness, I can maybe make my mouse a little bit bigger. Right there. And now I can click here and start copying itself until I go bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's going to take many passes to get enough of this gray. And it's looking kind of weird. It's got that like lines, but for now, that's okay. Do what you can. I'll show you how to fix that later. Oh, I think I moved it. I'm trying to do it big so you guys can see, but it's really hard to navigate. So I'm going to do Command minus and see my whole line so that I can do it better, right? So Option or Alt sample, and then keep drawing. Whoops. All right, so I kind of faked a whole bunch here, and I know that I was past this area that I had I got a little double thing there. Anyway, so now this doesn't look too good, but we're gonna fix it, and I'm gonna hide a little bit of this. So what mattered is that I got some gray, and here I can hide this thing. So before I bothered to blend this with the old stuff, all I wanted was a bunch of gray up until this line. Before I make it, remember that this has to look good in 100%. So here's 100%. So when I was zoomed in, that looked pretty bad, right? But now that I'm zoomed out, even though it was a line, it doesn't look that bad, but just let's still zoom in to show you at this point, for 100%, I have a bunch of lines because what I fixed was one little tiny line that I copied many, many times. Now, if you're kind of here, let me know. If you have no idea how you got here, I'm happy to help you with that. So let me know that you need a hand to get to about yay here, which is, as you can see, it's not perfect. It's got colors and it's got stuff, but that's kind of good enough, so to say. If you've gotten here and you have kind of a good enough thing, give me a yes. If you need a hand, then raise your hand and I'll help you get to here. Okay, again, it doesn't need to be perfect, it needs to be goodish. Okay, so yeah, let me stop my share dot. Can you share your screen? Jenny, Gustavo, how are you guys doing? Ed, I think you had said yeah.
I'm
Okay,
just having fun painting out with a brush.
you could do that too. All right, so I'm looking at what Dot is doing and you're getting a pretty dark sample there. So that it could, because of what we have to cover, it could still work. It's not ideal because where did this dot come from? But in reality, if you go to 100% and you were to show something like this, where it's just a little sliver of darkness in the bleed, it's better to have a little black line than a light one. But
It seemed like I was getting part of her elbow in there.
yeah, because you're copying back the elbow again and again. So my main concern isn't so much that it's the elbow, but that it's black. And I'm not sure why you got black. Can you go back to your history?
Oh, let's see.
Oh, okay, I see you have a multiply button on. Okay, stop. Wait, I see. Go back up to the top. Put your mouse up in the top. No, stay where you are. Stay where you are. Go up to the top. Go with your mouse up to the top where I had you choose current and
Oh, the
below. Yeah,
multiply?
there. Multiply. Yeah, go up to the top. It should have said normal. So I don't
Oh,
know.
I
why-
don't know how I got
At
multiply.
the very top. No, if you go all the way to that little arrow, that's normal. That's where that should have been.
Oh, okay.
So since it said multiply, it got darker. So go back to your history, take that off and do exactly what you did, but leave it in normal. So your history, go, no, stop. Go, no, go over to your right side panels, move all the way over to right side panels, right? Yep, that first little icon, the one to the left of histogram, to the left of histogram, there's a one to the left. That, no, down, right, the one that has the arrow going up, one up. You're one up. That one, that's your history icon. Click on that one.
Yeah, the little zoom thing was covering it up.
Yeah, I know.
Then go up to,
Then get over to layer visibility. Yeah,
yeah, and then
Okay.
start.
yeah. But now you've hidden your layer. So turn one more down in your history, or turn on the eyeball on that one. There we go. Now let's start again and do it, because what you had done was technically okay. You were just doing it. Now, wait. Take your take your sample first from the, hold on your Alt or Option key and then do a single click. There we go. Now you already did a clone stamp there, and now you're going to bring that little dot there. So see, go ahead and undo what you did, or Command Z one more time. Until you get rid of that little spot that's there. There. Now, don't click yet because you have a light colored gray. Hold down your Alt or Option key and now click. Single click. Good. Now let go of your mouse and now click to the left. Yeah. Start drawing. There you go. See how that's
Okay,
color now?
okay.
And now you'll have to go up and down a few times and then you can copy from there and there. And now stop.
Yeah, why does it get
Wait,
there?
stop. Don't let you go. No, don't let go of your mouse. Okay, I was saying stop, don't let go of your mouse. Go ahead and go ahead and click again. Click one time. Now, do you see how your mouse has a little plus sign that's following it? No, you click, you're not clicking, so click. Even if it's wrong right now, you're gonna undo that.
Oh,
See
The
that plus
plus?
sign?
yeah.
That plus sign is her on her elbow. You see that light
Oh,
on her
I
elbow,
see
you
that,
guys?
yeah.
That's what's being copied. Whenever that plus sign is there, what you're copying is what's under the plus sign. So now start drawing and you'll see more and more of her elbow. So what you need to make sure is that your plus sign is on what you want, not what you don't want, and it's on the arm, right?
Mhm.
So now go up to the history and get rid of the last couple of clone stamps. Probably one more. One more. Oh, looks like you, okay. So it looks like you have to get rid of all of them, then go up one more. Yeah, so here's the thing. When you're doing this, it's better to do it in portions so that when you undo, you don't have to undo everything. So here's the goal. Click again, get your sample again. So do a little, hold down your option key, alt key, do a simple click. And now wait. Nope, that's the problem. Go, you took the sample from like down there and then you went up there to start writing. So take the sample and then go exactly to your left, right? And then start right there. Yeah, so now go up and down and see how now the plus sign follows your mouse. So now when you get to the bottom, right? Then that plus sign, now I'm going to show you something that might blow your mind. Click again now. Let go of your mouse. Now click again. Keep going. Now, if you make a mistake, you'll only let go of this last little bit, not all the tough stuff you did. See what I mean? You let go of your mouse for a
Oh,
minute,
so
and
to
then you
let go of your
don't have to
mouse.
go all the way up. Yeah, so keep going down. Then when you're about to get the elbow, let go of your mouse again, so that that doesn't erase, okay? And now it's the other way around. If you keep going down, you're gonna touch the elbow. So now go do another sampling, like a little bit higher up than her elbow, the area you're in. Now go down, go your mouse sampling, like right there. Yeah, click sample. Okay. Now let go. And now go down to the area near her body. And wait, you're too near. You're too near. You see how your plus sign and your circle are together? Then you're copying from yourself. So go and click a little bit further above. Don't click white. Don't click white. Move it in. Yeah. Sample. Okay. Now don't click yet. You sampled from like 1/4 inch above her elbow, right? Fine. Now, without clicking, move your mouse down to that white area that needs to be corrected. Don't click. No, don't click.
Oh,
Move your, go move your make your sample again from above. Go about a 1/4 inch above. Yeah, click and make your sample. Option key, option alt, sample. Good. Now, before you click, don't click yet. Move your mouse to that white down area. Okay. Now click and start drawing that area very carefully and you'll see, yeah, click and start drawing. See how your plus sign is up in the gray? So now you
Oh.
can go near her elbow and just kind of draw just gray because you're sampling from that area above. Does that make sense, you guys, what I'm showing
Yeah,
her to do?
that makes a lot of sense.
I'm targeting what area she's copying from so that she can go and draw right across the elbow. Does that make sense, you guys? If you followed through what I'm doing with her, it's to teach everyone, not just to her. Now, you've reached the dark area. So now you have to go back and sample some gray again. You can see how you brought some, yeah, so sample some gray from up there. Now move exactly to your left, click and drag. And start copying there and just stop short of the elbow when that plus sign gets in the elbow. But see how you've managed to fill gray all the way to the guideline now? So now you can go all the way up, keep going up. And your plus sign is on the white now. See where your plus sign is? It's on the white.
Oh, yeah.
So now go and sample gray again. Nope, you're bringing, yeah. Go sample gray from there, click. Okay, now move your mouse exactly to the left and now go up and down, and you'll be bringing gray in there. Okay,
Oh, that's very
So-
helpful.
yeah, so it's really important to keep an eye on that white light, on that white plus sign. That white plus sign is what's being copied. All right. Again, we're doing a not too careful copying for 2 reasons. I'm going to show you how to blur this to start with. I'm going to show you that. But oh, now you're clicked on the white. So no, so go click the sample. Yeah, right there. And then go up and get some gray. There you go. All right. So now, first of all, as I said, at 100% and in the background, this would be fine because really it's only the line that goes into the bleed. But what we can also do though is we can add a little blur to this now.
You want me
Oh,
to stop the share?
I was gonna have you do it, but since you
Oh.
stopped share, I'll do it. It's okay. So anyone else who needs help with that like line kind of thing that we did? There's like so many ways. Ed said he painted it. You have to be careful with that because you have to, make in this case, a paint would have been perfect because it's just a flat little, really, we're filling in 1/8 of an inch, okay? We're exaggerating here to have a bit more, but 1/8 of an inch is all we needed. So a gray brush could have done it. But if I turn off the eyeball of everything else, basically this is what I'm left with right now, which is this stuff. What I can do right now is I can just blur it all a little bit so it all evens out. So, and it's not that you need to see it this way, but I'm just showing it to you so that this is the thing that we did, so that if we turn this off, you'll see how we left it intact. So if you really don't want to change it, you don't have to. But if you do, then just for us to see what's happening, I'm going to turn the bottom layer off, make sure you select layer 1, and let's just go add a little blur to this. So let's go up to the very top where it says filter. I'm going to go over to blur. I'm going to head over to Gaussian blur. Filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And now we can move this up and down until it blurs out a little bit more or a little bit less. See that? When it blurs out, if it go too far, it gets so blurry you don't even see it. So we can only blur it a little bit, but that's enough. If you had some of lines or weirdnesses there, that should take care of it. Does that make sense? Bit of a blur in this case is all we need. We're not trying to imitate a windowsill. We're just trying to cover a piece of white. Say okay. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to save. Wait. Hold on. I don't want to do save yet. I want to make sure everyone's with me with the blur. Now, because of what I did here, which I still have like a strange line, I left the windowsill. I could also copy from here and cover this windowsill, and then it's just a basic gray background. So I could have just done, and I'm going to give you another example. I made another line, and I would have preferred, instead of to keep the windowsill, easier would have been to choose to copy some of this, command from here, bring some of this in, and then completely cover it, right? And then you just, who cares if there was a windowsill there or not? Does that make sense? I'm choosing to copy something that's just more even. Okay, I'm undoing that. Because for now, we're going to live as if this did matter. I could also have used this, this that I do have from here, and now go over here and just kind of go over this sill so that disappears a bit, to blur that edge a little bit more. Does that make sense? So you guys play around with this kind of stuff, as long as it's unimportant, which in this case it is. It's not like people are going to go, oh, there should be a window there and it's an inch over, because no one's going to understand or know that. So all that matters is that now we have, and this is what really does matter, is that now we have a layered file, a layered file. I want you to keep this alive because we have ruined it. I mean, as a photo, if I really later want to use it again, I'm going to need the sill to look like a sill. So I don't want to flatten this. So I'm going to save this file. So up until now, if I look at my InDesign, that is still not showing me correctly. And that little bit that I did there is when I did it non-destructively. So let's save this file. File save or Command S. This is just shortcut or Control S. But I'm going to save it on my computer. But here's the thing. This will not be the same file. This will be a PSD now, right? So say okay to that anyway. Leave it as a PSD. I've got it in the right folder, so I'm going to save. I'm going to save. So now this is going to work. This file is going to work. But when I go into InDesign, oh, sorry, I had moved things around for a second. When I go into InDesign, the file that's being requested here is the cafe owner. Does that make sense? Let me see, there's a hand up. Let me check and see on that first. Dorothy?
Oh, that's way back when we were doing the
Before, okay.
postcard background. I had a question.
Got it. Lower your hand then. All right. So I have to either replace this file with the other one, or I have to bring it in again. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on the location of it, because if I have to bring it in again, I want to remember where to put her and what size to put her. But let's go use one of these links where it allows me to, no, there's not a replace here. Interesting. So then instead of replace, I thought there was a right click replace. There's not a right click replace. There's two things I can do. I can relink from another file, right? Like I can go ahead and relink from another file, or like I can relink it, but relink it to the new PSD, or I can select it, which is I'm going to choose to do now instead. Select that box. And now go find the original to place the new one. Say place. Since it's selected, can you see the pop-up box, the save as? Is it sharing? Okay, now I'm going to go find the cafe owner PSD. And notice that by default, the choice is replace selected item. Why? Because I had that selected. If I didn't have it selected, I would just bring in a new one and have to put it over. But since I had the box, what I've got is the frame is there waiting for the new image. I could be putting this one in there. Who cares? But I happen to be wanting just the PSD version of it. I'm going to say open. And now my version with the gray is the one that's popping up. And when I do the before and after, I'll notice that this is still fine. But if someone needs the bleed, it just goes into a generic and, blue, and it doesn't matter, generic window. So again, you guys probably have it in the middle of your window, or it's hiding. Who knows where you have that little bit, but can you see the change on yours somewhere? Now, if yours is in the middle and you're seeing more of the image, that might really bug you, because suddenly you have this gray line that you don't want. Well, no problem, because for those of you for whom this change was not a good idea for your photograph, go to PSD, turn this off, say save again. That's the important part. Go back to InDesign, double click on this little guy, or single click, and boom, it's back. So now for those of you for whom that change was not appropriate, you have now destructively and non-destructively learned how to change it, but also how to update it to the right version. Does that make sense, you guys? So now let's go back to Photoshop and do the change that Monica had proposed. I'm going to leave my change on because I do need it for my design, but I'm also going to go down to this adjustment layer, which is, for those of you who are not in my Photoshop class, we've only done one adjustment layer at the very beginning a long time ago, so you might not remember. But head down to this little round circle at the bottom of the layers tab, click on that, and let's head over to black and white. We're going to turn it into sepia, which is what she did. So you go to the black and white. It's already black and white, so if this were color, it would turn into black and white. But also in the black and white, tool, you can tint it. You can click on tint, and that's what turns it into sepia. Now, this is the automatic sepia. If you have another color you want to turn it into, you can click on that and make the tint be blue or green or yellow or whatever. Or you could have it be the color of a logo or something else, right? But whatever you choose here is going to be the tint for this image. I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to leave the default sepia. And now when I look at my whole image, if I like it or not. It's a easy to turn on and off effect. So I'll save and I'll go check in InDesign what that looks like. I'll click in here and I'll go, oh, that looks good or bad, or not sure about this tone of sepia. With this, maybe I'll look for a tone of sepia that's more a bit pink, more pinkish, right? So that it works better with that, or a bit
So
blue.
that brings me to my question. So
Mm-hmm.
what if you would want to have that tone the same as, let's say, the background of the mug or the wood from the coffee pot?
Yeah.
Could you do this right here?
Yeah, you could go find this color,
Mhm.
right? One of these colors. Now remember, these colors are in Photoshop
Uh-huh.
and in InDesign. If I go to the eyedropper in InDesign,
Mhm.
where I don't have access to the photos, but I can
Okay.
click on a photo
Uh-huh.
and it brings me a certain palette of colors, right?
Right.
How I clicked on somewhere over here.
Uh-huh.
So say that I want that to be the tone for my sepia tone, or
Uh-huh.
that, you know, some tone like that. I can then go ahead and if I double click on it, add this to swatches or add this to my library.
Mhm.
So let's do that. Let's add it to my library. So I'm going to choose this light color, add it to my library, and I'm going to choose this brownish color and add it to my library. Maybe you click around here too, and you go for an even browner one, right? So here I'm going to make one of these tones, and I'm going to get this brown and add it to my library. So it's taking a little bit because my libraries are not, there we go. So now I've added these two tones to my library right there. See those guys there? That's that set of tones. If I go over here and choose something from this blue place, it might be different, but anyway, so right now I've got those. Let's go over to Photoshop and let's go to the libraries. And here are the libraries that I just brought in. And if I scroll up, there's the tones, right? So I can go ahead and say that I want these to be part of my palette now, right? So I can double click on this, bring in the colors. Click on, oh, where's my, where's my properties panel? Looking for a properties panel. Here's my properties panel. And why am I not? Copy to. I'm trying to bring it into my. I'm not able to. Huh. It's coming in. I'm trying to think what kind of file it's coming in as, because it didn't bring one, it brought the whole set. So I'm a bit. Let me figure out how to bring, I mean, it's the easiest thing is to color to copy. And in InDesign, the tones or the choices of that, but I'm trying to see. Come, it's not letting me use it. I mean, I do have this tone that I had used before for the demi tasse. It's not letting me, huh? Okay. Let me for a second switch to the essentials tab where they have the properties panel. No, it's still not making a difference. Okay, a little bit back to flummox, a little bit flummoxed as to how to bring this one in. Let me go to the color swatches. Okay, so I'm going to go window color swatches, colors. I'm turning on the color ones right there. Swatches. And there it is. It's bringing in those color swatch. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's bringing those in. Did it bring, see, they're there for me, but I don't know if it's because I had brought them in like this. Because I had said apply. Are they there for you guys if you go to swatches? The colors that you chose?
No.
because they're there for me. But
So where did you click apply?
yeah, but the thing is, I'm torn because I'm teaching you how to do this, but I'm noticing that in the whole point of the black and white properties is that this tint is not being picked up from the swatches because it's turning it into black and white, so it doesn't recognize colors. So all the colors that I'm choosing here under color swatches, let me just explain to you what's happening. When I choose a color down here, it was turning into grays instead of whites. Now it's turning into colors. I'm drawing a blank as to, give me a second on how to do that. It's fine as a swatch. It's giving me the swatch color. See how it's pinkish? But when I go back into here and try to bring it as a property, it's not respecting my swatches. My color libraries. No, these are the Pantone, but you're still there. My example, we were talking yesterday about how Pantones wouldn't be there, but in the case they're still there. I don't want that. I'm gonna go back to the picker. Nope. Huh. I'm drawing a blank as to how to have this tint be a color I choose other than typing in the numbers. Right now, the only choice seems to be typing in the numbers. There should be a way. But anyway, since I can't find it, then the only option is to type in the numbers. So I have to go and find this color. Say this is the color I want to use. I have to type in, so 241, 204, 189, 241, 204. So I can go over here and write 241. 204. Right now, that's the only thing the only way I can see it working. 179. So now that color is the tint that I just typed in. Which if I save and I go back in here to InDesign, I'm going to update right now and you'll see how it's going to look much better. See how the colors are matching. But the only way I was able to do that is typing in the numbers. There should be a better way. I mean, we used to type in the numbers all the time before, but they've updated things so much that you'd think that there should be a way. Maybe there's not. Okay, so I'm going to teach you the roundabout way. You basically choose a color, you measure it, right? And you find its numbers. So you go over here and you go 241, 204, 189. See that? And you might want to make it darker. So in InDesign, you use your color picker, you choose a color you want. So I'm going to go say that I want one of this little dark one here, right? And here it says C44. Oh, I'm noticing one other problem. This is these numbers are appearing in CMYK. Add this theme. Now the theme got added. And I go back into Photoshop. Let me bring it in as a color theme. I'm drawing, this is the first time that I made, so I'm bringing in the theme. But this is CMYK versus RGB, and that's the biggest problem. So I have to go over here and choose its 164, 119, 107. 164, 119, 107. So you see what, guys, I'm doing? I don't have anything to write on right now. So I'm picking up these RGB colors, 164, 119, 107, 164, 119, 107. Then I'm going into my properties of this swatch. 164, 119, 107, I think it was. There it is. That's the new color. And say okay. And now that's the tone it's using, which I might like more or less than before. I go into design and I do an update. And now I like that better. The tones are matching more, so I went for a darker one. So basically, I can't seem to figure out how to bring it in for the tint. For everything else, for the colors, these are working, but for the tint, it's not working. So just take the numbers of a color you want. Choose a color. Let's say that I want to go for a blue now. I'll go for, yeah, for a blue. I'm gonna click on this blue right here. See that? That one. Okay, so can you see how it reads 96, 87, 45, 51? Do you see where I'm reading it? I'm not hearing a yes, but you see how that little thing is saying 96, 87, 45. I'm not gonna remember it. I need to write it down. 96, 47, 51. 96, 47, 50, 45, 51. I'm hovering over this. I need to move away and hover over it again for the numbers to appear. Sorry, I'm doing it with my left hand. 96, 87, 45, 51. Okay, so I copied them over. Now I'm going into Photoshop. I'm going to go over here into the tint. And I'm going to create in the CMYK and copy them. 96, 87, 45, 51. So I've brought in that blue. Okay, and so then that's tint in blue now. So I'll say okay to that. I'll save that file. I'll go to InDesign, update. And now I have it in blue. Are you seeing what I'm doing? Any questions about that? I've did it to brown, I've done it to blue, but I don't know the automatic way, so I'm just doing it the old fashioned way, just copying the color numbers, which in the end is the back to basics. So showing you the back to basics, how to copy the color numbers. That working for you guys? I'm not hearing yes or no, so maybe you're totally lost, you have no idea what I'm doing, or you're like, I don't care, but it's about color, so I do want to make sure you understand it before we take off to our break. Is that a yes for a couple people? Monica, since you were the first one who asked about this.
Well, yes and no. I'm still kind of playing with it.
Okay, but if you're stuck somewhere, fine. If you're playing with it, that's good. But if you don't know where to go, let me know. Otherwise.
I'm good.
All right. Dorothy, you're good. You want some support?
Oh, I'm kind of lost. I'm just, I'll review your recording. Maybe that will help me out.
Okay. Well, basically, I'm not sure I like it in this tone so much. I preferred it the tone before. So I just did an undo, so I'm going back to this little brown tone, which I think worked better. So basically in the adjustment layer, you have to give it a tint, that's all. So I'm going to save that one just to finish it off with this one. Select this one. Oh, I need to save it first. Save this file. Back to InDesign. And another place to update it is from here. So I'm going to double click from there. And I got the brown one. Either way, brown, blue, gray. It's been tinted, it's been adapted. Now we adapted. Not only did we adapt it, but we left a JPEG here, a JPEG there, a PSD here, and a PSD there. Now, why PSDs? In the past, you couldn't. You had to have a JPEG or a flat file. Now you can bring in a PSD, which gives you the flexibility of continuing to change that file. You can keep changing that file all you want, and you can leave it be as a PSD. The only negative to leaving it as a PSD is that it's a bigger file. The PSD is bigger than the layered file, and if you are going to be sending all your files, in the past, file size, file space was really limited, and now, you know, it's much easier to send big files. There's so many systems to send big files. You can transfer them through the internet. You don't need to have email files anymore. So file size isn't such a big deal. So it's less important to not have a PSD there. That said, if you're completely done, you know that you'll never alter this anymore. This is your campaign is never going to be changed, whatever. If you now want to create a JPEG of that, and pop in that JPEG in here, you're welcome to do that as well. I spent a lot more time in the past in this class telling people how to resize to the right size so that you didn't have a 10 by 11 image when you really only wanted it to be a 2 by 3. File size is less important now. It's more accurate to do that, but in the end, InDesign doesn't need it anymore. So it's more of a choice. I might want to use the same file in a couple of other places. So I'm going to finish that and let's take our break. Which is the last of the original questions, which is, what if I want to bring this photo in now in the back and have it kind of ghosted? I think that was also Monica's question. So let's head over to page 2. And her question was, what if I want to bring that same photo in? Does she need to make a copy of the photo? Remember? She wants to bring a photo here. I think it was you, Monica, right? Or was it Ted? I think it was Monica. She wanted to put a photo of the owner in the back and ghost it out kind of in the back. So I just show you how in Photoshop, you changed this, right? So her question makes sense. If this is the one that you're going to bring in and you bring it in here, what's going to happen if you want it ghosted? Well, let's do that. Let's go to the back. Even if you don't want her in your design, you can delete it later, but let's go ahead and say file place. Well, for better, for worse, now we have a JPEG and the PSD, right? So we could just say, we'll just bring in the JPEG, but let's not do that. Let's bring in the PSD. So let's assume that we only have one file, which was the point I'm trying to make. You have the same file, right? So the same file you have in the front, which in this case right now is the PSD. If you didn't save a PSD, then bring in the JPEG if you didn't do this portion. But if not, bring in the PSD. Say open. Since I saved it tinted, it's coming in tinted, so it is exactly the same file. Let's bring it in here. So I'm going to just drop it in there. It doesn't make sense in my design, but there it is. I'm going to drop it in there. Before I do anything else, I want to confirm. I want you guys to be clear. I have this in here twice now. I'm going to go under and you see her there and here. You see that? Well, here's the good news. Look at my links. What's happening is that the photo came in, the same photo came in twice. You see that? So I can do whatever I want in here to this photo. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. I can make it, I'm going to make it much bigger. Fill my whole background, for example. I'm going to make it be yay big, for example. But I can go over here to properties and make it much less opaque. I'm going to make it be like that. Make it be a 20% opacity, something like that. This is a different photo, different instance of it than this one. That said, it is the same photo. So it is coming in whatever I did it to Photoshop. So if I take the sepia off of that one now, it's going to go off of that one. Does that make sense? So whatever I do to the Photoshop is happening to both, but this ghosting I did inside of the properties panel here. So again, I select this image and I went over to the fill opacity, and that's where I did. So this is an opacity that I applied in InDesign, not in Photoshop. So as long as I can apply it in InDesign, I've given it an opacity layer, right? I have the same image twice. It's even, one of them is telling me it's in page 1 and one is in page 2. So it goes back page 1, page 2. It shows me the links where they are. 2 versions of the same one. So I need to send only one of these files over to the printer if I need, because it comes in 2 modes, right? There and there, but it's the same one. Now, if in Photoshop, I go change this back to, let me go ahead and make this a, I don't know, let me make this a completely blue image, and I say okay to that, and I save that. When I go into InDesign and I update, both of them have to be updated. I double click there and see how they both, you can't tell because this is so ghosted, but it is also changed to blue. Okay. I'm going to go back here and undo that because I want to keep it in the brown, save it again, go up to InDesign, and I'm going to double click here and both turn brown again. So it is one file. Whenever I do in Photoshop, applies to both of them, but I can ghost it here in InDesign. Now notice over here, I have the name 3 times because one became like a little group where it's the same photo that appears twice. So here, if I open it, it shows me page 1, page 2. It's 2 of the same one, and so it shows twice. Now, why this matters, many times you have a book, say a 50-page book, and there's this one little icon, the logo of the bookmaker that shows up 50 times, one on each page, or 100 times, one on each page. Each one of those instances would appear here 50 times. That would be crazy to see the same icon 50 times. So you can just close it and see that icon there 50 times. Does that make sense? And it's typical of magazines or big things to have certain things repeated a bunch of times. And so every one of those instances shows up under one folder, which is, it'll say 50 over here if you see that little logo 50 times. Now, when you go to the company says, you know, instead of the logo, why don't you add this little gizmo? We'll put the logo on the front page here, put in a little gizmo. You put in the little gizmo, you replace it once, it replaces 50 times, right? So this is really useful. Or like we just did, we changed the color to green and they all changed to green. All right, let's save both Photoshop and InDesign. When we come back, we're going to finalize these files for print and for other purposes. And let's take our break. I'm looking for the stopping the share. Let's look at the time. It's 12 to 3, so let's meet at 3:02. So break until, is that right? 3:03, okay, 3:03 p.m. Be back at 3:03 p.m. See you guys in 15 minutes. All right. I'm back. Everything is so far here at school. Okay. So. I walked out without any extra jacket and I'm freezing now. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I'm starting with sharing with Bridge in the sense that here in Bridge is where we have loosely mixed amongst a bunch of other files where we have the files that are part of this, including the ones that I downloaded originally as logos that in the end now I'm not using anymore because we made our own logo. The two versions, like the black and white and the PSD now, which is colored. Again, here, the two versions of this one, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, my files are kind of spread all over, so to say. Now I have two versions of this one, so it's 6 files that I need to attach, plus my stuff. Now, first of all, before we're ready to say I'm done with this file, we need to make sure that this says no errors. Now mine says no errors right now, so it's kind of, you know, a moot point to look at this thing that says no errors. But if there was any error, and to do that, for example, right now, I'm going to go and change this one more time to a different color. I'm going to go for a dark green, and I'm going to save. I'm going to go to InDesign, and right now, this thing says 2 errors. You see that? Why do you think it says 2 errors?
Because you haven't linked the new color into the InDesign.
Yeah, and the thing is, since I'm looking at it in this nice little presentation mode, nothing is warning me that not anything is wrong. So I keep recommending that, yes, this is good to check out the final look, but to always have this in working mode, because in working mode, I've got the 2 warning signs that are showing up there. But say I was looking at this one, I should always check my links at the last minute. And there we go. There it's showing me warning signs. But what if I don't check the links? Or what if I don't check this mode? I'm like, okay, everything is looking good. Life is good. I really check, double check. I think everything is fine. I forget that I just did a final change. The last place I should look at is always down here and go, oops, 2 errors. Now, we both know, we all know what I just did because you just saw me make that change. But what if you didn't know? It's like, wait, I really think I finished everything. I don't have any errors. So you guys, how do I check for errors? You click like you really have no idea what could be the error. Why is the computer pointing something up? It could be a missing font. It could be so many different things. So I'm going to click up here and I'm down in where it says 2 errors. I'm going to click on this little arrow to the right of it. And I'm going to check out the pre-flight panel. Check out the pre-flight panel. And the pre-flight panel, they call it like that because, you know, when you go to the airplane, they do the pre-flight check. You see it on movies and stuff where they check everything before they take off to make sure that everything is working. And then something's not working, they make us all wait for 2 or 3 hours until they fix it. But, you know, better than crashing. So that's the same thing, the pre-flight panel. If you don't have any links, this will be green. There will be nothing here. Like if you haven't no errors. But since I do have errors, it's showing me. This is in case I didn't know. You have a 50-page document, 100-page document. You see an error. It's like, where's that error? Who knows? So you come to this document and you click and you open this up and it says, ooh, looks like there's some modified links that I haven't updated. I go, which ones are they? And I go, oh, it's these 2. One is on page 1, one was on page 2. So this could have been, you know, one is in page 47 and another is another link, and then is a font missing here. Like this would tell me where my errors are. Does that make sense? So I'd go, ooh, thanks for letting me know. If I still don't even know how to find it, again, if this were, page 47 out of 150, I'd click on this and it'd show me here, this is one of them. And then I'd click on that and it would show me this is the other one, right? So there's many ways to find your errors. Now I'm going to close my prefect panel because guys got an idea. But I know what the error is because I can see that. And since it's the same file, all I need to do is click on this top one and it'll fix those two. So I'll double click and now it made it green. Okay. So down here, it says no errors. If I go to the pre-flight panel now, it's empty, nothing, no errors. Life is good. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to Photoshop because in the end, I did not want to have this. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to save that again. And thus when I come in here and InDesign, 2 errors again. All right. So it's pretty quick to remind you. So if nothing else, if you don't see anything else is wrong, if you just forget, I'm going to double click. Okay, now it's done. If you think you're done, you should always at the very last minute before you are totally done, you should check your pre-flight panel and make sure that it says no errors on the file. It doesn't catch every single thing. Like it doesn't catch if you left that line there or if the bleed is missing a little bit of those are the ones that we had to check by hand that we talked about. It doesn't tell you, oh, there's no image on the bleed. It just sees a frame there. And if you didn't put anything in it, that's your problem. But it does talk to you about things that are missing the link. Now you might have noticed in this case, you don't see the background. Everything looks clean and good because this is what's going to print. That's good. But when I hit the W, I left something out here on the pasteboard. Okay. Now you don't have to have nothing on the pasteboard. You can leave it in the pasteboard if you think you might want to change it while you're working. But when you're done and the file is complete, then it's nice to clean up your pasteboard and say, I'm done with this and get rid of it. And the only reason is because say that this is another file that you brought in. I'm going to bring in, I'm going to say file place, a completely different image, whatever, a PNG. But well, PNG is not really for printing. I'm going to bring this guy in, Creek. And I had it here. And it was one of the possible photos that I was looking to use. And I might have had 3 or 4. And then I changed this one, I changed that one. And I decide, oh, these are the 3 that work well, or these are the 4 that work well. If I still have those, then they're still in the links. See, just because they're outside of the page doesn't mean that they don't show up in the links. So anything you make, and it says PB for pasteboard, it's living in my pasteboard. So at the end, you can also look at all your pasteboards and make sure that there's nothing left just to clean up the file. Because otherwise, if you don't send this file, because you know you don't need it, you send all the rest, right? When the people on the other side open the file, they will have a missing link here. And they won't know why it's missing and what's the problem. Of course, if they check, it's a pasteboard, they see it there, it might not matter. But you know what I mean? It's messy to leave stuff that's not necessary. You're not going to use this file. When you're done, just go ahead and get rid of it. Got it? So, because otherwise, this will be showing by the time it arrives, you will send all those links and not this one because it's not necessary, but the file will still be showing it and requesting it as missing. Anyway, so it's a good idea to clean up your pasteboard. Okay, so go ahead and do Command- and see all around if you have things lying. Now over here, I have things expanding into the pasteboard. That's fine. Can you visually clean it up? If you want to, you can grab the frame without holding shift or anything and snap it to the bleed, right? Snap it to the bleed because nothing beyond the bleed is going to print. And that makes for a neater file. You see what I mean? So in your brain, it might be easier to see if the bleed is fine, if you don't have all that extra stuff in there when you're done. When you know that you're not going to move this up and down anymore, you're going to move this in and out anymore, and you're happy with it, then yeah, you can go ahead and. So again, what I did is I had a frame here that still showed image that I'm not showing. So I grabbed the frame, the black arrow key, and I go stop. And then here I had, again, extra, okay? But over here, if I go to the left, And I have more image since I've covered that little bit, as long as I check that it's covering the bleed, and it is. And then again, I don't need any of the extra stuff. Now, you guys might have fit yours all in, I don't know, but that's a nice way to finish the file. And then let's do a save. So there's nothing on the pasteboard out here. I'm going to leave this guy. I'm actually going to make it even less than 10. I'm gonna make it 15%. There we go. And I'm looking at the bleed because I just dropped it in really quickly, and I'm noticing that the image does not reach my bleed. So I'm going to have to I was making the mistake that I just said not to do, which is on page 2. I was grabbing the frame and trying to expand it with the frame and not the image. So I'm going to do Shift Command, and I'm going to expand a little bit more, because see how my bleed had that weird white line around it? Can you tell? Okay, I'm going to undo that, and let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ++. I'm going to check the bleed, and my image has this border thing there. And I don't know where it comes from, but I'm not going to bother checking it out. I'm just going to grab this corner. I probably, when I clicked and dropped it, I didn't drop it in the right place. Shift Command, stretch it out so that my box touches, so that white stuff is gone from the bleed. I'm going to go down. This one's fine. This one's fine. Here I have that white line there again. So Shift Command and expand. And I check my bleed to make sure that which is the bleed. There we go. Make sure her face and the logo aren't being covered. In this case, I'm going to select this. Oh, looks like here I still have the bleed is a little bit out of place. So I go and check all my corners. Command and Shift to expand both frame and content. Oops, I went backwards. Okay. So that is right. And cool. I like what I see. I've checked all my bleeds. I'll say save. And just so I know what's happening is I have this font down here. And one of my documents was Arial Narrow. And then this one, in the end, I was playing around with stuff earlier. And one thing is that I noticed is that what I brought in here is, so here's Chelsea Open Market. I'll clean it up, and here it is. You just click into it and it says Chelsea Open Market. So I have Arial Narrow and Chelsea Open Market. Now, another reason to clean up your pasteboard is because if you were testing other fonts and you had little fonts here and some other thing, you might have been, you might have been testing, you know, I don't know, I'm gonna just go right. You might have been testing Academy Engraved, something like that over here. I'm gonna bring it down really tiny so you can barely see it. And there you go. You were just testing something out that was left there, especially if it might have been a color similar to the pasteboard color. You might not even notice it, right? But then when you go and save it and send it, they're asking for a font that's not there. That's not needed in the document, but it's out in the pasteboard. And that's a problem, right? Because they'll go, no, where is it? I don't have that. I never use that font. And it's just one of the fonts that's hanging out there. So anyway, that's very, that tends to happen a lot.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
It turns out that on my back side, the background white is only the size of the card and not the size of the bleed. What is the easiest way to fix that?
The white default background is nothing. If you didn't make a box for color, that default background is just paper. It does, you don't need to expand it to bleed, because the whole point is nothing is going to print there.
Right. Okay. So that's, I can just leave it like that.
Yeah. So
Okay,
there's no
thank you.
background here. Right?
Okay.
That
Right.
bottom needs to be no color. There's
Okay.
no need for that to have any kind of color.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm noticing now that when I first gave this example, I had this demi-tasse there. So when my photo came on top, it sat over that one, which is why I had that weird little line. Anyway, I'm just speaking to myself. I didn't need that box. There we go. My bleed is fine. See over here, I need some more. Switch out to make the bleed, there we go. I had made this box less 20% because I had a pinkish kind of color in the background that I first had filled. Now without that pinkish, I like that better. It's looking cleaner. Okay. Oh, I just noticed a mistake. Can you guys see a mistake in here?
Yes, the logo is over the image of owner of coffee owner.
The
I
logo-
think it would look better on the apron. If you put them on the, maybe on the right side of the apron. That
Okay.
way we can, I don't know, I
Of
was
the
wondering,
apron? Say of the apron or what?
yes,
Yeah, well, let me just say that a matter of taste, design wise, you can give me a suggestion of what you'd like better, as much as I can look at, Monica's or Peggy's and say what I'd like better, which is fine, which is what you're saying. But I'm just saying there's an actual mistake, a technical mistake. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying about the logo. I just threw this on and her face is in the middle and I'm not sure if it works well, but
Your logo is transparent, like those beans.
actually, no, it isn't, but that should give you an indication of what's happening. So what's wrong and why does it look? see,
Oh, the logo is behind the image instead of on top of it.
Exactly. And what's the other problem where I see that, where I noticed it first?
it's
Down
my
here.
second.
I'm at the font.
See this bottom here? Look. I gave it an opacity, right? So suddenly it looked fine. Let me put it again at 100%. But that's really what's happening. I threw it on top when I was showing you an example of how to do this, that I said, oh, sure, let me just show you how to do this. So I threw it on top and I brought down the opacity. And it's very typical to do something like this and then to not notice the details, which when it was lighter, it was harder to tell. But now that it's darker, what's happening is it's transparenting a little bit there, which is where Monica first saw it. And then here's where I first saw it in the hand. But sometimes it's hard to tell and you send this to print. And then when it comes, that's a bummer because your brown is going to have the weird stuff. And that's because I threw it on top without, in the layers, grabbing this guy, which is the second page one, and bringing it down. Okay. It should be behind. And now it's hiding. Okay. It's hiding there, and that's deep again. That's not to say, Saul, that your comment wasn't right about where the logo should be or not. But this is a technical issue. Does that make sense when I say what one comment versus another? So
Yes, it does, but the way I learned in another schools is that any logo shouldn't be in front of the customers, or an image will be better off a little bit, like maybe 25% around the person. So I don't know, but that's my point of view.
yeah, and again, here I was just given an example. Monica wanted to know if we put the background. I probably would have preferred it with an empty background, but if there's a face here and there's a logo here, yeah, that's not very happy. So then I would probably, if I make this decision, then I would have to move the logo around, choose a different place for it and all that kind of stuff, which is a good comment. Maybe put this somewhere else, put it at the bottom, put it on the right, whatever. You can do a whole bunch of stuff as long as you're following the rules of the post office and you're not getting in the place or in the way of where it has to go. And as long as you're keeping it inside of the safety zone, right? That you might do
You're totally
something,
right. Yes,
might do something like that or something like that, right?
everybody. I think
Those are
everybody.
just-
Yeah,
what's
I
that?
believe everybody can make their own design, their own weights, and that's fine, But
Yeah,
that's just the point of view that I saw.
now,
And
what
that looks better.
matters, yeah, what matters is if there's a face, you wouldn't put something on top of it as much as you wouldn't put it in the edge or that kind of stuff. Now, that works a bit better. As long as I move stuff around, I need to check again that everything is still in the safe space, right? You need to make sure that that's still working and that the background is not intruding. You check. Every time you make a change, you check. All right, once everything is ready to go, I need to move on to how do we finish this file? And again, you might like it or not like my design. I actually like the second design I had made better than this one, but somehow I kept doing this example with this design, which I don't really think this works with this one in the middle, but that's not the point because right now it's the file that we have. So I'm ready to send it to print. So what do I do? First, I check for no errors and I look at that. No, no errors right now. Good. Now we're going to assume and make the consider that this file has been go to Bridge again, that the stuff is all over the place. First of all, I'm gonna close. I'm done with Photoshop. I'm not gonna use Photoshop again. And since my computer does take a bunch of different it does take energy. I'm going to close my file in Photoshop and I'm going to quit Photoshop for a second. And in Bridge, for ease of sake, I'm going to have what I'm going to do next happen inside of the same folder called Digital Design Techniques. But normally what I do is when I have these, let's say these were a whole bunch of source files for this project or stuff like that, I'd make a new folder with the final piece, right? With the final thing that's going to be sent. But right now I'm going to have it inside of this folder as my universe of my computer. I'm going to go to InDesign and I'm going to go up to File, Package. So everyone go to File, Package. Because maybe you brought in one image from your downloads folder. Maybe another one came from an external drive that you have where you have some source images. Maybe another one came that you downloaded it from the internet and you don't even know where you put it, or someone sent it to you in a message and it went in, it's still on the message board, like you did a copy paste because you were just kind of working, and then you like it, so you ended up using it. I was like, where was that file to start with, right? And then we have the fonts that we don't even know where to get from sometimes. So the package is going to go into this file, go follow all these links, right? Which, remember, if you hover, it tells you where each one of these is. And if they're all over the place, the package is going to go find them. And it's also going to go find the fonts for us, wherever, in whichever part of the computer they are in. And it's also going to do again, like in an error check. And if there's any errors, it'll tell you about the errors. So here there's the good old warning that I've told you, look, wait, this is a warning. So you read it, and it's not that it's saying there's errors. It just says links and images, 6 links found, 0 have been modified, 0 are missing, 0 inaccessible. Oh, and 0 are embedded. They're all linked. 5 use RGB, colors and inks, process inks. Da, 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 da. So you read this. It's not that there's an error, but you just check and see, because it might say that there's an error here. If there is one, then you still have to go and deal with it. Now, I might or not want to put in printing instructions. If we say yes, then it'll also have a file with printing instructions in case you have specific instructions, foil, tones, colors, whatever. You don't have a very specific instructions, so we're going to leave that off. Fonts. In the summary, it says 2 fonts used, 0 are missing, 0 are embedded, 0 are incomplete, 1 protected. So let's see what that means. Go up to fonts. And it shows me that I have Arial and Chelsea. And if I'm like, really, 2 fonts? I thought I only used 1. Well, remember that we have 1 for the logo and 1 down there that says the address, right? So when I click on this one, it tells me it's on page 2. When I click on this one, it's on first use and on page 2. This one is on first use on page 2, because the one that I have in the front is a logo. If at this point there's any problems with any of these, you can still find and replace fonts and change it from here. I don't recommend that, because then you might change a font and you'll have to go and look at the whole design again. If you're going to change the fonts, do it before you're swinging the package. But here it'll tell you if there's something that's not working. When it said protected, it meant this one just came with my computer, but this one is from Adobe Fonts, and you can only use it if you have the Adobe Fonts subscription. If you don't have it, you won't be able to use it, et cetera, et cetera. It's activated from fonts, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so links and images. So this is specific. So basically the summary showed us that nothing was wrong. But if you want to specifically check on everything, you check here again. Colors and inks, we're going to go with a process because this is going to print. So CMYK. Print settings, if we have anything to change or done, but basically everything is good because we already did the whole pre-press. Pre-flight is basically preparing the file for pre-press. And we don't have any plugins in here, so life is good. So basically the summary is usually all we need. If there's no mistakes, you don't need to go one by one, but that's what it's showing you. And package. Click on package. Can you see my pop-up menu? Is it sharing itself? The menu of Save As? Is it sharing itself? Yeah. Okay, this menu doesn't always show itself. So now it says Save As, and this is a folder, right? It's a folder. It's creating a new folder. And you tell it what you want to call it. And this seems fine, Demitask postcard folder. Why did it choose that? Because my file name is called Demitask postcard. Had it'll say whatever name your file is. If you want to change it to client, XX job 234X, you can whatever. I'm going to leave it as Demitask postcard folder, where in this case, it's going to be in the same place, but I could change its placement. Now look what's going to happen. It's going to copy the fonts from wherever it is that they're in your computer, except if they're activated from Adobe Fonts, right? So what this means is that, yes, Arial is going to be copied from inside of my computer. It's going to be added to the package. But the activated font is not going to be there. That means that whoever received this package has to have an active Adobe Font subscription. Does that make sense? Because I'm not going to be sending it to them. It's going to copy any linked graphics. Copy. Yes, copy. It's going to make a second version of these files. Why does this matter? What if we then choose to use that background, that image from the owner on another product and we want it painted green? Well, this one that's painted sepia is linked to this document now, and I can go and use the other one for something else and make a new edit to it. Otherwise, I can never edit that image again, right? Because it's linked to this document, and every time I edit it, my whole postcard changes. So it makes a copy. It updates if there's anything that's been left modified. So if you still haven't. And it's going to include an IDML, and it's going to include a PDF. Remember the conversation that Ed had about PDFs? Now, by default, this is going to be select PDF highest quality print. You'll see that this might or not work. Okay. Now, I want to notice that by default, this is not checked, and you don't want that, which is include fonts and links from hidden and non-printing content. So remember all that stuff in the pasteboard and other stuff that you might have locked in the layer. You might have had layers. Let me stop for a minute. You might have had layers where you're hiding this one. So if that layer is being used or not, do you want that link to be included? Does that make sense? That would be hidden. Anyway, so let me go back to package. So it's creating everything for us, right? Telling us where. And so I'm going to say, fine, I like all those options. What is the IDML? I'll tell you in a minute. Let's go ahead and say package. Now, it warns you all about copying software. We are copying one software. The Arial is being copied, and it's letting me know that that has a copyright and that whoever I'm sending it to can use it. So printers can use them to print, but then they have to delete the font that I'm sending them from their computers. They can't keep it. If they are using, like for a project of their own for another client, if they use the font that I'm sending them, that is a problem with copyright law, right? Because it's like sending them an image, so they can't use my images for anyone else, but they can't use the fonts I send them with anyone else. All right, so we'll say okay to that. And it's creating my package. All right, nothing much seems to have changed here. Well, let's go to Bridge. And if I look at the D, because it's the name of my file, there's a new folder there called Demitas postcard folder. Now notice that all the other files are still there. The ones that I used that I made, they're still there. It didn't delete, it didn't get rid of any of them. There they are. It just created a new folder. I'm going to open that folder. And I have only what I need to send to my client. I have 3 versions of the file. I have a IDML, an INDD, and a PDF. You can print from either of these 3. I'll tell you now which and when. And I'll tell you what IDML is. But let's do a quick check of this PDF. When I open it up to see it, and when I do this, do you see what I'm sharing? Does my screen share change or not? You're not, you're looking at me like, no. Okay, I'm doing a quick space bar to see it in big, but since I'm not sharing that screen, you guys are not seeing it. Anyway, there's a problem with this PDF, and I'll, if you can see it, this PDF here, look at the elbow of the woman in my case. If you're not sharing it, it doesn't include the bleed. This PDF is not the one that we can really send to the printer. This PDF is incomplete. So you have to be careful with that. This is not a PDF, print ready PDF. It's a, for viewing purposes only, we call it PDF, which shows what I want my final file to look like. But it's not the one they can print from because it didn't include the PDF. Okay? Does that make sense? So I'm actually going to go ahead and right click and change the name of this one. And I'm going to call it what was the shortcut for viewing purposes? Printing. I can't remember the shortcuts of for viewing purposes. It wasn't FVP, but it's got something like that. Anyway, but since we're trying to learn, I'm going to write viewing only. Okay, so file viewing purpose. For viewing purpose only. I'm going to write the whole thing so you guys can. So I said I did a right click to the name, and I'm going to call it for viewing only. That's the easiest name. So now it moved over here. Let me task for viewing only. The PDF. The IDML, why would I send an IDML? Well, I am creating this in InDesign 2022. Yeah. If I am sending this file to someone who has InDesign 2022 or 2023, that's fine, they can open it. But if they have InDesign 2021, they can't open my InDesign file. It's only going to be able to be opened by newer versions, same or newer. So for example, you guys at home have 2023. If you send me your INDD and I open it in this computer that only has 2022, I wouldn't be able to open it. It depends on how many versions have passed. Maybe I can, or maybe not, but it also depends on if you used any of the newer elements that 2023 comes with, and I have 2022, they won't show up on my computer if that feature is not enabled in my version. Does that make sense? Why? If my version doesn't have, I don't know, opacity layers, and you just put an opacity on your newer version, then you can't, okay, bye Tess, thank you, bye Saul. But you guys, I know that they have to go to work. All right, so we need to make sure that in case my version is not compatible with the people that they have, with them, the IDML is a version that opens in any version. Okay. Of course, because it opens in any version, if you did anything very specific, very new that only the newer versions has, then that feature won't happen, won't work on this one. Does that make sense? So you have to be careful. But if there's an issue with compatibility, then the plan C would be to use that PDF that I'm going to show you how to do a good PDF, the PDF that's for printing purposes. So any questions about the IDML? I could also use the IDML to open it maybe in a different version, like I might be able to use an IDML to open in the publication version of a different type of program that does desktop publishing, like Ed you just sent me a different brand, so to say. It might open an IDML, but it wouldn't open an INDD, things like that. I don't know. I'm saying that without having tried that out, but an IDML is a more universal version. All right. Then I have document fonts, which we know were 2, but if I double click, it'll only show the Adobe Arial. This is the actual file. TTF is the actual file. And then it has a document that in it, it points to the link to that. What was the name of mine? What was my font? My font was Chelsea Open Market. So this is instructions for how to activate, for whoever downloads this document, how to activate the Chelsea Open Market, or for in your cases, whatever that you guys got. Okay, so I'm going to back up from that folder, go back in here. And then here's the links. I'm going to double click on the links, and here is a copy of each one of the files that we use. Notice that 2 of them were the PSDs, 2 of them were JPEGs, and then the logo that we made. And this is used twice, but all they need is 1 time of it. Remember? In the inside, it's the same file that they access 2 times. If I had 50 times this logo on every page, then it would just show 1 time here, even though in the document it points to it 50 times. Okay, so basically this is a package that has everything that's needed in case I send it to, say, China, and and maybe it's sending it to China and they're printing when I'm asleep. It's 4 a.m. and they're having a problem and they're trying to reach me and they can't reach me because I'm asleep. If there's a big problem, they can get into the file and fix it and move on with their printing schedule. Otherwise, they might charge me for delaying them for a day or 2. So this is the full-on package that you send when the company that you're printing for needs the full-on package. They'll tell you if they need all the files. Any questions about that? From now on, this is important. Every time I work on this file, I'll work over here. Many times I'll call it, final, send to printer, right? I'll call it for printer, like usually my folder, when I have a folder here, I call it, that's the one that's sent to print, right? If that's where I send it to print from. Or if I'm still working for it, I'm just showing it to the client. And then at the end, we've made changes. We've changed 2 or 3 of the files or the links or whatever. I'll either update the folder or I'll create a new package with all the final pieces and having that one be sent to print. But what that means is that I'm not using this one anymore, or this one anymore, or this one anymore, or this one anymore. So all of these are now disconnected. Not that they're disconnected. If I open the INDD, this one that's outside of the folder, it'll link to all of these. But if I open this one, it'll link to all of these. Does that make sense? So this, I just grab this folder and put it on, wherever, Dropbox, whatever that place that company is wanting to, and it all goes in it, and it doesn't matter. It's not linked to any of these anymore. That's one thing I do. Any questions about that before we move to the next plan? Nope. All right. So remember I mentioned that that PDF we made wasn't really good enough. Oops, I left this little guy. See, there's no error because I was showing you this, but I didn't fix it. Fortunately, I had it in the same font. Had I had it in a different font, it would have shown up as a 3rd font, and I would have noticed and I've gone, what's that 3rd font from? But since it was in Chelsea Open Market, it just is messy stuff that's in there, but it doesn't it didn't show up in my report because I didn't need it. Okay, so here we go. Let's go and do the correct PDF, the final PDF, the PDF that you would send to a printer. Let's go to File. And in this case, in this program, it all depends. These programs are all different. Sometimes you save as for PDF, sometimes you export. In this case, for from InDesign, you export a PDF. Like if you go to File Export, and now it's going to say Demitask Postcard PDF. So I might want to add for printing, or okay, print version or something like that, print version 1, or I call it for printing purposes, or send to printer or something like that. You guys decide, but I'm going to call this one print. So this one is the one that's going to be, it's a PDF, not for viewing, but for print. Now, the important thing is that if I put it out in the middle of all my files, it's not going to be in the right place. So I need to go find that folder, right? I need to put it in that folder that I made because it's supposed to finish here. It's supposed to end up inside of the same place as my other files, okay? So it says Adobe PDF print, and notice that you can have Adobe PDF interactive as well, depending on which one by default, and this one would be a slower, and this is what Saul had to leave right now, but he mentioned, I believe it was him, or was it Gustavo? I think it was him, who mentioned compressing the files, and I said, wait, not yet. So compression would happen here, because if you're trying to make a file that's going online, the PDF that's interactive, and it's going to be low quality, they're going to compress those 300 PPI. They're going to make it much lower. You don't want that. You're going to print. So you want all of that resolution that we talked about the second class. You want it all to be in there. So now we'll say save. And now we have our export Adobe PDF window. Is this pop-up sharing itself? Do you see a big export PDF? Okay. So here we have to make choices. At the very top, it says Adobe PDF preset, and the default is high quality print. If you click on that, you'll see that there's many different versions of PDF. This truly is so important to ask your printer what they need. If they just say Adobe PDF, right, you know, Vistaprint, those kind of digital places online that just do your posters, they just need this high quality print version, that's fine. If you're going to a web press, if you're going to, you know, professional printers that really are, you know, are going to run through different kinds of machines, you should ask, do you need any specific, do you have any Adobe PDF, not Adobe, PDF presets that I need to know? So again, just like they'll tell you what they need for prints, they'll give you a set of specs for the PDF presets. And they might, like some ones I used to print all the time overseas, and I knew what countries needed PDF X1, which ones needed 2008. There's these different, their machine, you know, just like some people use inches or centimeters, different machines, different countries need different setups. So you need, and in the same country, they bought a machine from Germany, another machine from Japan, and the same printer has two different setups depending on what printer they're going to use. So you need, ask your printer, any PDF settings. We're going to leave them in high quality print, imagining that we're going to a Vistaprint kind of place. So over here, once you do that, the choices are made for you in many ways based on that. If I click on this one, the choices might be different. You know what I mean? So you just, it depends on this choice, what you're going to have set up here. Now, let's head down here to compression. This is what we were talking about, that if we had chosen a different PDF, then the downsampling of the pixels per inch might have gone down to 72 or something else, right? But here it's basically saying, if you have any image that has more than 450, bring it down to 300. So compress it to 300. And you can say, no, don't compress my images, or yes, do, but that's to make it more manageable as a JPEG at maximum quality. So basically this should work. But if you have any specific reasons why you don't want that to happen, then they would have told you, they would have, you know, choosing one of these or the others might have set different, made different settings happen. All right. Again, Grayscale Images is all about compression. Right now, we'll leave all the defaults. This is the one that really matters. marks and bleeds. I'm gonna go ahead and click all printers marks. This is the one that doesn't turn on automatically. This is the one that you can or not include, but I recommend including. And you'll see why once it's done. Now, the bleed marks, if you set your own bleed, you might just, if you didn't set your bleed, you might want to write it in here, but then that wouldn't make sense because that means you've designed something with that set. So you just say use the document bleed settings. So then since we used 125, it defaults to what you just created, your template. And if you did this correctly, you've set your own bleeds, right? So that should be there. Right, that's the main thing. If you keep reading, the rest are pretty much, again, unless your printer said something different, what's your output, your ink, your that kind of stuff. But for the most part, those choices are made ahead of time. I'm going to head back to general. The main one that you always need to look at once is what type of PDF preset, and then marks and bleeds. And turn this on. And then you might want to ask your printer in case they prefer not, but I've never heard of a printer who doesn't want the marks and bleeds because this is what helps them, helps you also make sure that you get them right. Okay, so now let's say export. And now let's go to Bridge. And let's go to our folder. And here's our new postcard. Right? And this one, when I hit the space bar, let me just make it bigger over here. Can you see it big enough? Can I make it bigger here? Where can you see it biggest? I think here's the biggest. You can see it right now. Do you see all these lines? And I need to show, I'm going to have to open it. I'm going to stop my share. Okay, not going to stop my share yet, but what I'm going to do, this isn't working. To teach you what I want to teach you, it's not big enough. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to open it. I'm going to open both of these PDFs. I'm going to select these two PDFs, 1 and 2. I'm going to select both PDFs. I'm going to right click and say open with Adobe Acrobat Reader. Or Adobe Acrobat if you have installed the other one. So they're opening up and now I'm going to do a new share. And here I'm going to add my reader. Okay, so here's Adobe Acrobat just opened up. Let me make it a little bit smaller so you can see the whole image. Yeah. Don't show me the tour. All right, so I just opened both of the Adobe PDF files. This is the first one, the one that got created automatically, right, by the computer. And as you can see, it looks good. It's fine. It's what it should be. And let me go ahead and give you a little minus so you can see around it. But you see how it doesn't include the space behind her elbow. So that gives the giveaway that it's telling me it's not including my bleed. So if I give this to the printer, it's going to be missing that which we worked so hard to get. So if they print this and they cut wrong, they're going to get that white piece of paper, right? This is the opposite of what we need. But this is good for viewing purposes. It shows them what you want the final to be. So you want the final to be right there. And I'm looking at the fact that this is right in the corner there and that their elbow is gone. And that gives me the idea that this is the right one. This one, on the other hand, is the one that I just created. And the one that I just created has all the printing marks, okay? So it has the bleed, this line here, that is my trim line. That's the one that's gonna cut into her elbow and then go down to the corner of this wood. This is where the machine is gonna cut, and this is supposedly what's gonna be left on the printing floor, that whole bleed. Does that make sense? Down here as well, everywhere. The inner lines are the trim lines. That is the document end, so that's the bleed line.
So that's interesting. I don't have those lines on my postcard.
All right, did you, when we did the export, did you?
Yeah.
turn on the proper?
Yeah, I did. I
Prob-
did. Uh-huh. Yeah, I put on all print marks.
Okay, so then we have to go see, let me have you share, let me finish explaining this and then you can, let me explain what the rest of these are and then you can, share your screen so you can see what happened. So then it has, these 4 registration marks here, here, and here, and that's what they're gonna use because this is what the printer is gonna do, is gonna create 4 films out of this file. And each one of these films is going to be for one of the colors, one passive cyan, one passive magenta, one passive black, one passive yellow. I'm going to go into InDesign and see if I can show you those 4 films so you'll know what I'm talking about. But they have to register and be exactly positioned so that they all print the same way. This is a sample for them to see. They know what this should look like. This is a sample of the basic colors and the basic grayscale. So if when they print the first sample, this yellow looks orangey-ish, they know they need to fix and add less orange until this looks good for them. They don't know what you wanted. They don't know if you wanted it to be pinkish or bluish. They don't know. All they know is how good these look against what they're accustomed for their printer to make that look. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it's a way for them to check their printer if they're printing too light or too dark, or if they are printing with the colors in the right scale. If they get this to look like what they know it should look, then supposedly your photos should look the way you wanted them to look. Okay, so they check color and saturation based on those marks. And then down here they have the file name and then you have the date of what you printed. So if there's a problem later, you can go, well, you printed from the wrong file because my final file was the 11/15/3051, and the way the print is different is because you printed the old one that I sent you 3 weeks ago, which is the October. It's your mistake, you know what I mean? So that's part of the information that's on the file. All right, so that's the printing one. Now I'm going to stop my share. Can you share, Monica, to see what's happening?
Actually, I'm wondering, I opened it in preview. Could that be a reason?
Share your desktop and I'll see. I would think that if I were to open this in preview, let me see. If you open the right one, then in preview, it would still show you. I'm opening it in preview right now. It would show you, yeah, I'm in preview. It just, the document now has these files. So there it is. You're in preview now and see how you've got all that stuff. I can't hear you, Monica. Are you?
I know. I don't have them all. I have these marks, the document marks, but I don't have the cut marks or whatever you want to call
you're
those. The
right.
second one.
So maybe when you were clicking around on the choices, I see what you mean. You have most of
Yeah.
them. Go, so go
I'll
open
try
up
it
your
again, but
apps again, and maybe you unclicked one when you were looking at them.
I didn't touch anything.
So do it with us so we can all see, because if not, I can maybe
Okay.
fix the problem. Oh, but you're
Okay, so we go to InDesign.
yeah, but you're
and-
sharing only this one screen.
Oh, yes, I need to go to the other.
Go to the
tools.
share.
Yeah,
Share
I
again and
go
share your
to
desktop.
No share. Desktop.
Go
Here
to
we
new
go.
share, and then say share, and then.
Okay.
let's go-
Is it
okay,
there? Yes.
Yeah, so let's go back to save for export.
Okay, hold on. InDesign. There we go. Okay, file,
Export.
export.
Yep.
And here it is.
Call it for print so that you can.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry for the long file name. Okay, so now we have the print version, saving.
And now
And I go to Marks and Bleeds. I have them all on. Do I need to also click this use document bleed settings?
Yeah, but something at the top says high quality print modified. So go up, see at the top.
Yeah.
Modified. So you make some change. So go to print, regular print.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you modified. Now that you go to print, click on all properties, mark. So I don't know,
Okay.
something you had modified,
Um,
made it different. Let's say export now.
Okay,
Now let's go and to bridge and find it. And did you save over or had you give it in a new name?
I think I gave it a new name.
Okay, and you're sure you saved it in the right place? Is this
Yes,
the-
it must be this one.
Let's see, look at the time today at 3:51, which is the time.
Oh, that's the old one.
Yeah. So what's,
Maybe it's this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
but
Oh,
it's
now it's still the same.
funny.
Oh,
That's interesting. And let's look at the time, 4 p.m. Yeah.
Deanna,
Yeah.
she didn't check the mark where it said, shows bleeds. She didn't check that box.
No, I thought I saw it checked. Go back to InDesign.
okay,
No, it wasn't checked.
okay.
Okay.
So let's just go through it again.
Go again, yeah.
Export.
And just leave it dash test or something like that. I don't know. You can change the file name later. So it just, okay, so it
So
says
print, save. That's
quality.
interesting. So it makes it the modified as a default, but I go to this high quality print,
and then
marks and bleeds, all printers marks.
see, yeah, bleed marks are there.
Shall I use this
Oh,
one
use
too
document
here?
Bleed settings, yes. Yeah,
Huh?
click on use document bleed settings, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, because then it recognizes your
Okay.
bleed, and that was the problem. So yeah.
okay.
Good eyes. Doc.
Export.
Export.
Now we're going back to bridge.
And then the one that
And
says
there's one that
test,
says test, probably this one. No, print,
third
print.
one says test, yeah.
Thank you. Ah, there we go. Okay,
Because then it's
it's here. Yeah,
markings. yeah.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
cool. Good eyes.
Thank you.
Doc. It takes a village. All right, cool. So that's the file that you're gonna need to go to print. If on the other hand, in fact, you're going to go, so now let me share my screen again. And let me get bridge and design. By the way, can you all make sure that you're doing some screenshots of this Adobe PDF with all the crop marks and everything to share as the final project? So now we have the second postcard. The one that I said for viewing only, for viewing purposes only. It does have one other use. What do you think? This is all you have here. Okay, and it has 2 pages, right? So if you scroll down, both pages are there. What do you think this is good for? For viewing purposes, because we were talking about printers before. But as it comes without the bleed, this is exactly what we want to see. So, for example, if you want to put this on screen, if you're going to send it to an email and you're going to send, hey guys, come over for, I guess coffee, there doesn't have, yeah. 2 to 3 p.m., 10% off, whatever I'm imagining to an email list. If you're writing about this new process that you're using, any kind of advertising, whatever's online on your website, check out our new postcard, but mainly for an email marketing campaign, I can imagine this being attached and saying, 20% off Thursdays, every third Thursday of the month or something like that. Does that make sense? This is ready for print. Ready for publishing online because it doesn't have all the gross registration marks and all that kind of stuff. It's ready to go. It looks like we wanted it. It looks like what we designed. It looks like the one that we wanted to make. Although, as I said, I preferred my second design better, but whatever. I ended up with this one. Okay. So that's what it's good for, but that said, I'm gonna go over to Bridge. Let's look at the information. Let's look at the metadata of these two files. So if I look at the one that I said for print, it ended up being 1.75 megabytes, 454 by 363 pixels. Oh, something's wrong there. 454 by 363, that is really small. That should not be for printing. I'll have to go and check what happened, but you see the dimensions here?
Mhm,
printing-wise?
mhm.
That is not going to print high quality. And I'm telling you that that should be how you export for printing. That's not
Mm.
good. I'll have to go check. This should have many pixels here. That's interesting. So we'll go check and see. For viewing only, I was gonna say, this is great. This is 365 by 3. But it is 164 megabytes, so we could in fact go and recheck choices for this to make it even smaller. So that you have a high quality image with a smaller amount of megabytes, which you want. If you're going to put it up on screen, you want something smaller. If it's on an email, it's okay, but not if it's going to be on your website. That's too big. So let me be clear about this. The settings, but let's go see what happened to this, because this is wrong. This is completely not okay. Now I'm saying, wow, I just taught you how to do something and it's just not right. Now, when we went to these links, each one of these was the right dimensions, like the pixels and effective size, effective PPI. We checked them all. Every one of these was effective PPI was above 300 and stuff like that. We did that at the beginning, so I'm just double check really quickly, but they're all fine. They're all big enough. 214. Which is this one? Oh, this is the one on the second page. This one I expanded beyond. See, it's 214. But here's a saving grace. Since I'm making it a really ghosted image of the background, it's fine. Quality isn't going to be sharp, so that's fine. If I went above, that's good. So I go to my beans, that's 445. I go to this one, 752 on the tiny one, which one's 270? Pour over. Huh. Here look at that. I wasn't checking, but this one here, 270. I'm fine as long as it's above 250. I like 250, 260, 270. It's good, but it's good to know that maybe this one, if it could be made a bit smaller, it might work better. Okay, I'm gonna live with it. 270 is fine. And my beans are fine because they're okay. So if my links are fine, let's go back to the save export and let's see what happened in here. I did do Adobe PDF print. So the defaults of those settings should have been right. Let me rename this one print high res. I'm going to just write that. So remember that I'm just trying to make sure that it's high resolution. Say save. What is high quality print modified? It's my warning. I know that if I were to go to press quality or one of these, that would be much higher. So what's wrong with this high quality print? Let me go over to the compression and see if something here. Compressed text and line art. Well, we don't have any line art. Crop image data to frames. So that's getting rid of all that extra stuff we put in the pasteboards, which I took care of. Color images, downsampling, 300. Let me go ahead and choose, for example, if it says press quality, it's fine. Or if I say, it's all the same. So see, it doesn't. Look at output, advanced, security. Links and bleeds. Good settings. compression. This is the place. For any image that's above 450, which I had one or two, they're going to compress it by down to 300. But that said, that would still give me a big file. Monochrome. I'm not seeing a single one of these things that's wrong. And I said export. It didn't give me any other choice. I am really puzzled. It's tiny. Something's wrong and I do not know where that is. Okay, this is exactly the same as before. So I'm going to get rid of this one because that's no good. Move it to the trash. Go back to InDesign. I cannot see. I'm flummoxed. Oh, no. No, I was about to say, of course, the InDesign file is small. That should be small. But no, but this is the PDF. Let me look at the folder to make sure that all the links, sorry, not the fonts, the links were left and covered. High res, 700, yeah, this is still got all of the pixel dimensions, 1200, all the pixels, everything is full pixel dimensions. I'm going crazy. Is yours also small or just mine?
No, it's also
Adobe
also
Premiere
small. Oops.
Presets, high quality print, the presets, but I wouldn't, so print. Let's change to press quality. See, smallest file size, that's when you would choose to go to the internet, right? So you'd want all kind of compression. So let me go to export and I'm going to give it again the high res. Let me save. Let me choose smallest file size. And as soon as you do that and you go to compression, see how the numbers change to make everything be really tiny in the compression. But that's because I went for smallest file size. As I go to high quality print, I'm flummoxed, and other than there being a problem, I do not see. I don't see anywhere where the problem is, you guys. I'm going to have to figure it out. I did hear that there's some. Okay, I'm going to do some research. I know the class is over. I'm going to do some research on if there's a new settings. See, based on high quality print, use the settings to create Adobe PDF documents for quality printing on desktop printers and proofers. So this is what I meant, desktop printers and proofers. This would not be what you would have sent to like a pre-press. This was desktop printer and proofers. That would be, for example, for Vista Print. But I'm going to go over to, this is the 2001 is the one that we used to use for printing. This is what I used to use. I remember when I was printing the coffee table books that we were printing in China. I'm going to go ahead and do this, export. And let's see if this one that I just created, see it's 2000, it's still only 456 by 354. I'm flummoxed, you guys. It's a bigger file than before, but it's still not a high res document. So I'm going to have to go and see what's happening because this should be the high quality document that I was just doing it from home. I did some prints the other day and it's the exact same thing. So I don't know what the issue is. Somebody send me an email. I'll do some research and then I can send you guys the info. But I don't know what's wrong because I've done this hundreds and thousands of times and this file should be printing out from here just fine. So, yeah. The fact that it's so And this one, the fact that it's to go to 100%, it's that small, it should be huge at 100%. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what you would do. You would change it into something else, or, and now let's be clear, if this truly was also something you're sending straight to the internet, you would also go to save as. And then you can here, you could say export, sorry, file export. No, I'm all confused. File export. And you have other choices, and you can save this as a JPEG or as a PNG. If you're going online, these would be your best choices. Okay. Now, if what you created is a interactive PDF, you'd go over there, which means you can click on stuff. If what you're creating is like a Kindle book, you know, an ebook, you would go to EPUB. Well, there's different versions of that. I'm so confusing that they're not letting us. I don't know why the print is not working, but anyway, say that I'm going online, I would go JPEG or PNG. I don't have transparency in this one, so it doesn't matter. So I'll go for JPEG, and then I'll save it as a JPEG. And you would have to do 1 by 1 page, right? Because a JPEG couldn't do both. So I would say range, and I would say 1 page 1, because I'm not going to send that part as a PDF, as an online, because it's only the back part is only good for postage. So page 1 is going to be going out at this quality, and I'm going to say export. And when I go here to bridge, I'd see a JPEG now, but this is only good for the web because I exported it at small 33 KB only, you see? So you have to be careful. So I didn't rename that originally. When I first said export, I should have renamed export underscore and call this one for the web page, for example. And don't try to print from that JPEG because it's really tiny. All right. So you can create all your different exports into different formats based on where you're going to print it. And any questions other than what's wrong with that PDF that I can't answer? Nope. All right. So I want to see, let me get the Padlet, which there's very few of you guys left here, but let me give you the link to Padlet so that you can post it right now if you want. I'm going to make my final Acrobat. So I'm going to go to Acrobat where I opened it up and I saw all the crop marks and bleed marks and registration marks and all of that. I'm going to set that one up. This is my final print, even though it's not completely original. And put that one up, but you guys put the different set, like the final back page, the final front page. I see already some people already did that. Peggy, you already put the ghosted image in the background. Peggy, you also put the one with the cropping, the markings and stuff like that. So great. Monica's uploading yours. So perfect. Somebody send me an email to remind me to look up the PDF exports, and then I'll probably won't do it this week. I have a lot more stuff to do this week, closing up a bunch of other classes and Thanksgiving. But when I have a bit of breathing time after probably Thanksgiving, I'll do some research to see what's happening to the, if it's, because it's happening to you guys too, right? It's not like it's this computer doing weird stuff. For you guys, it's the same. So I have to look in and see what's happening. Okay. All right. So hopefully you'll create some pieces and put them up here, some of your own stuff. Ask me questions. I'll keep
Oh.
checking.
It's been fun.
Thank you so much, Peggy.
Learned a lot.
I'll see some of you guys again in the Illustrator class.
Or
and-
a Photoshop.
Or, and or the Photoshop, yeah, so Monica,
So are you gonna do another InDesign class?
I believe in spring, it's set
Okay.
up. I
Okay.
believe it's in Design or Illustrator, one or the other, not both. I think it's in design, sorry, in design. Digital design techniques, I think.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's set up for the spring. I don't have it on top of my head right now if it's which one, but I know it's not both. But it depends, because if one of my big classes in credit cancels, then I'll get to teach both, so I always keep an eye on that. If so, we
Thanks,
add-
Deanna, for all your help.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
thank you.
Always
See you
great.
Friday.
Bye-bye. Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Gustavo. Bye, Monica, Peggy,
Bye.
and Dot.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, you guys.